And good morning. It is a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. Hope you had a lovely evening. I know it wasn't as lovely as mine. What was it? Stevie Wonder last night. Ah, it was so great. You want me to talk about the Yankees? I'm not gonna. Not gonna happen. You know what I'm gonna do for the rest of the baseball playoffs?
Who would want you to
not watch. Unless something interesting occurs, zero. I'm sorry. You can say, oh, that makes you a bad fan, or I thought you did this for a living. I don't care.
I think
I don't care.
Like the sting of the Orioles not being in it, I think I like. Cause last night was the first time I kind of tuned in, almost kind of locked into just the game.
Not me. I had been watching a good bit of the playoffs, but realizing it's just going to be the teams with the highest payrolls.
Dodgers.
Even trying to embrace the Mets is a feel-good story, right? Even when you try to do that, oh, yeah, they were going to be bad. That's kind of cool, right? That's neat. That sounds good when you say it out loud until you remember, oh, right, they still have the highest payroll in baseball. So, no. And the only reason the Dodgers don't is because they're deferring the Shohei Ohtani money. That's a joke. So, no, there's nothing embraceable left. Unless suddenly the Guardians remember how to baseball over the next couple of games. There is nothing embraceable about these playoffs. There's no good story. There's none of it. So, I'm out. I'm sorry.
Boycotting baseball.
Somebody's going to be like, dude, don't you do this for a living? Don't you have to talk about it? No, I get the sense that most everybody in this city is too. I get the sense that there are two markets that are really interested in baseball at the moment. And the rest of the country is just sort of meh. Meh at best. If not, nah.
I was wondering if it's even worth it if the Orioles make it this far anymore. Just because, seeing Stephen Vogt have to make a pitching change in the second inning just seems too stressful.
Oh,
honestly.
It's too much?
Yeah.
Can't take that?
Yeah, I mean, having to pull your starter.
Yeah, I think I'd sign up for that stress. I think I'd be all right.
I don't know if there'd be anything fun about it.
I think there would be fun things. I think there would be some fun things about it. But there's nothing fun about watching these teams. I'm good. I will pass. Thanks, but no thanks.
Guardians have some guy named Manzardo batting second.
I've never heard of that human. I did. At one point during the show last night, my friends who I was there with were like, dude, did you really just pull out your phone and look at the baseball game? I'm like, yeah, I still have a job. I still need to be able to talk about it. And then I realized after that, do I? Does anyone have any interest in talking about this? I'm going to do 3 hours on the radio tonight. Would one human being, unless for some reason they're a displaced Yankees fan, or Mets fan. I guess our friend Ivan is a big Mets fan. I know who listens all the time. Is a Mets and Ravens fan, which
naturally,
right. That old chestnut. If I've seen it once, I've seen it a million times. Other than that,
rather talk about why Kennesaw State just didn't run the ball.
Anyone interested in? Oh,
every single.
How much action did you have on Kennesaw State?
Not a whole lot, but 8.5. They were getting 8.5.
Oh, they lost by 9, right?
Yeah,
they lost 14-5.
They lost 14-5.
5.
They don't have a quarterback. Yet they decided to drop back 30 times.
Well,
and they were running the ball great. They ran for 100 yards in the first quarter, and they decided, well, let's try to mix it up a little bit. I don't know why they did that. I don't know why
how'd it go for them?
Whether they scored 5 points.
Well, yeah, that happens.
They did allow only 14, which you would think.
Some teams score 5 points.
Some teams.
They did. I mean, it does happen. Oh, God. All right. Here we go. I mean, the Mets won a game. Do we go back to it? Do we go? Do we return to it? Let's see what happens later. Anything could occur. Here's what's coming up on the program today. A little bit later on, Devin McCourty, of course, from Football Night in America. He's on the call for Westwood One Monday night for Ravens-Buccaneers. We'll catch up with him, get his thoughts on the Ravens' pass defense. Also, a little bit later on in the program, Randy Cross, 3-time Super Bowl champion, right? Randy won 3, I believe, with the 49ers. He, of course, is now the CBS color analyst for Navy games. He will join us to talk about the number 25 team in the country. really hope that this can continue. Really hope that even if they were to lose to Notre Dame, even if that were to be the case, I don't know all. This is where, because we never had a football playoff before, I don't know what the ramifications are. I'm going to assume that the parties involved are hell-bent on Boise State being the team, so that even if Boise State were to lose another game, I don't know that would eliminate them from being the team in the playoff, because I think they'll be so desirous of that. But even if both Army and Navy were to lose to Notre Dame, if those two teams squared off, that's the other bizarro scenario. The bizarro scenario this year is that the championship game in the AAC could be Army versus Navy. 1 week before the Army-Navy game. There's a bizarro scenario.
So what if
in which you would say, couldn't they just cancel the championship game and make the Army-Navy game the championship game?
Loyola,
No, because everybody wants to make their money. The AAC has no interest in giving up their profits on their championship game to a game that's owned by USAA. So, no. It'd have to be a scenario by which they played in back-to-back weeks. And that would be cool-ish. It would also be, not something you really want. You would have liked to have thought that at some point this potential scenario might have been addressed in negotiations.
Have them play every week.
Just
starting next season. Yeah, just Army Navy play every single week.
That's interesting. I don't think that's going to be the case, though. But we'll talk to Randy Cross, see what he thinks about that. Also coming up this morning, we will chat with Brooks Dubose, who wrote the cover story for the new print issue of PressBox, which is on stands officially today. We don't have it yet, so we'd normally like to hold up and show it to you. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can't find the digital cover, and then I can see if I can't show you that. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Thanks for nothing there. Hang on a second. I should have been more prepared. This is on me. It's got Julian Reese and Derik Queen on the cover, of course. Baltimore-built Maryland basketball players. I'm sorry. You got it?
No, not yet.
I have it. Oh, you could put it up on the screen.
Oh yeah, you're right.
You could do that. Hang on a second. You just got to go to PressBoxOnline.com. If you do that, then there's a tab that says Print up at the top, right? And then there's a tab that says Latest Issue once you highlight Print. And if you click on Latest Issue, you can then click on the new issue, which everybody can go read today, even if it's not yet at your neighborhood Royal Farms. And I was to understand that it might be a rollout throughout the course of the week. So some of your neighborhood Royal Farms, or those hundreds of locations where you find PressBox, if you stop by today, you'll find it. It will be there. Others, it might not be there until Friday. It's a rollout over the course of the next 3 days as to which locations will be getting the new print issue of PressBox when. But it will be there all throughout the course of the week, and the entire issue is available right now at PressBoxOnline.com for you to read, which is where Griffin is, and hopefully he'll be sharing with us are we seeing?
There we go. It's a little, because it's not like the full.
Well, that's a shame.
You can see what we need to.
Right, that's Julian Reese. That's Derik Queen on the cover of the new print issue of PressBox as they get ready to hopefully bring Maryland basketball back to prominence. So that is available today. Brooks Dubose will join us later on to tell us about his cover story. That's what's coming up on the program today. It's also Would You Rather Wednesday. I got the scenarios up on Facebook. I'll get them up on Twitter here momentarily. Now, as far as yesterday was concerned, who knew that the NFL trade deadline was a couple weeks earlier than we expected it to be? Busy day. Maybe not quite as much interest in Cam Akers being dealt. I don't know that we're quite as concerned about that. Obviously, we knew about the Devontae Adams thing during the show yesterday.
Who was Cam Akers traded to?
The Vikings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because they
think Aaron Jones is banged up.
Probably not good news if you're an Aaron Jones owner. It can't be great news that Cam Akers was dealt to Minnesota. If you're an Aaron Jones owner who had forgot they had put in a little bit of a fab money on Ty Chandler, then maybe even worse news for you.
In the one league where I had Aaron Jones, I traded him for Brock Bowers.
Okay.
I'm starting to feel a little okay about that.
I mean, I don't know. They haven't confirmed. This could be nothing more than just precautionary, or they expect him to miss a week or two or something. I don't know. But what I know is that Cam Akers was dealt to the Vikings. Davante Adams' thing from yesterday was followed up immediately by the Bills, who didn't get Davante Adams. Remember, I said, hey, I think it's better that he went to the Jets than if he had gone to the Bills. I like that better. Well, the Bills immediately stepped up and grabbed the number 2 wide receiver on the market as they dealt for Amari Cooper. And the word that came to mind for the Bills was necessary. That was a trade that had to happen. It was a neat thing for the first 3 weeks of the season where we were all like, wow, the Bills, they don't even need Stephon Diggs. Look at them, man. They're even better. And then we realized quite quickly, no, they're not. Not at all. That's insane. That's crazy talk. It's exactly what we thought. This bit where we continue to shove the idea of, well, once quarterback gets paid, he needs to make the wide receivers better. It ain't a thing. Patrick Mahomes doesn't even make his wide receivers better. He's just able to do it without them. And he's the one unicorn. Once upon a time, Tom Brady was similarly unicorn-like in his ability to get the job done without high-level wide receivers. Now, to be fair, those two teams have something, or those two quarterbacks also have something in common. Literally Hall of Fame amongst the greatest of all-time tight ends they were able to throw the ball to instead. The notion that these guys, there was one year where Gronk was hurt and Tom Brady still won a Super Bowl, and that probably is the greatest performance ever from a lower level of pass catcher. But it's just not real. This doesn't happen. This isn't a thing. We regurgitate it brainlessly constantly, and the number of people that did it, it was something that I would fight about constantly during the Joe Flacco era of Baltimore Ravens football. When people would be like, oh, you think it's about the wide receiver? Yes, I do. You know why I think that? Because every time Joe Flacco had competent wide receivers to throw the football to, you know what he did?
Look at him right now and last year.
It's amazing how this works. Just competent. Not even outstanding. We look back on 2012, Anquan Bolden and Torrey Smith and Jacoby Jones. We think about that like it was like a Hall of Fame caliber group of pass catchers. It was not, although I'll make the argument that Anquan Bolden is far more deserving than he gets credit for. Still, that's not what they had. It wasn't a murderer's row. It was just competent. The Buffalo Bills decided to come into the season without that. They said, we'll just hope that Keon Coleman will learn how to catch the football. And who knows, maybe Khalil Shakir could be it's like we talked ourselves into it for moments. Khalil Shakir looks like he's really got something going with Josh Allen. Right, he's still Khalil Shakir. Now, I don't know that Amari Cooper solves the Bills' problems. Amari Cooper's a good football player. At his best, a borderline true number one receiver. But borderline. It's like I got into a fight yesterday on Twitter with my buddy Eric. The Steelers thing is so freaking bizarre, man. But he's like, dude, you got playmakers like that. You got to be better than the number 28 passing offense. And I was like, what playmakers are you talking about? They have one receiver, and he's good. I like George Pickens. But, we're talking about George Pickens like he's supposed to be a top. He's not. If we ranked all of the receivers in the NFL, would George Pickens definitely be a top 20 guy? I think he'd be on the fringe, maybe in the conversation of a top 20. But, that's where he would be. That's the one. That's it. That's why they don't have a good passing offense. Because they have one. And a solid tight end. Solid, not at all spectacular. A good football player. A nice hand in Pat Freiermuth. I don't know why they would expect their passing offense would be the problem. The quarterback would be the problem. Or like why they would think they need to have some dynamic passing offense when they didn't build a team to have a dynamic passing offense. But God bless, I approve them making the move to Russell Wilson. You go right ahead and do that because I think it makes them a less dynamic football team. We'll see. Well, maybe they'll find some magical chemistry between Russell Wilson and George Pickens, and he'll stop. The thing where he could only throw the ball 5 yards downfield last season in order for the Broncos to be able to find success with him, maybe that'll magically change now that he's in Pittsburgh. I don't know. But to me, they're less dynamic because they're not as dynamic of a run team because the threat of the quarterback running the ball is now off the table. I'm in favor of this being what the Steelers do moving forward. We'll see. That being said, I think Amari Cooper's a good football player, and based on what we knew to be available, probably was the second best option. So I think the Bills had to do that to have any hope. Do I think it dramatically changes them? No. I just think they were ultimately going to be doomed by not having a wide receiver, and now they've taken away impending doom. There's still lots of questions about the Bills. But the thing that they could not possibly overcome now comes off the table. I don't think Amari Cooper in 2024 is as good as Stephon Diggs was in 2023. I still think that for the most part, they're a step behind where they've been offensively in the past. But they're a step ahead of where they were last week. So they've got that going for them. And it was necessary. They needed to do it. Teams have these windows. They've got Josh Allen. They want to try to compete for Super Bowls. That Bills team could not compete for a Super Bowl without having better wide receivers. Why they didn't recognize that coming into the season? Galaxy brain stuff. It's the type of thing that everybody can see it from a mile away, but for some reason, we might be the team that's different. Maybe we don't need wide receivers. And you get 6 weeks into the season, you're like, right, no, we definitely need wide receivers. What does that leave the trade deadline and the Baltimore Ravens? What's the fallout from all of yesterday? The first fallout is that two AFC competitors got better. They did. Are they better than the Ravens? No, I don't think so. But they did get better. The path to winning the AFC did get a little bit tougher yesterday. The Bills are a more complete team. The Jets, I don't know if they're more complete or if it's just they got a lottery ticket, and we'll see. They're hoping that Davante Adams can pull Aaron Rodgers back out and they can find Aaron Rodgers again. I'm skeptical, but I've been wrong about lots of things before. I'll be wrong about lots of things in the future. Maybe they can. So the path gets a little bit tougher. One of the things that we had talked about when Davante Adams was on the table is the notion that you go try to be aggressive to get Davante Adams to prevent the teams that you're going to be competing against from going and getting Davante Adams. Go check out everyone's trade deadline primers right now. And you know what two teams continue to be tied to also maybe being in the wide receiver market? The Pittsburgh Steelers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Two more of the teams that you're going to be competing with to try to win the AFC. That doesn't mean that I think the Ravens need to throw everything away going after wide receiver. As we talked about before, I don't even know that wide receiver is the biggest need. But it does fortify my belief that the Ravens need to continue to try to improve. I keep coming back to I can't shake the feeling that this year needs to matter for the Ravens. And as much as the Ravens always try to be the team that there is no single year that matters most, the window is always open. We're not that team. We're not the team that throws it all away. We're never going to be the Los Angeles Rams, nor do I think they should be the Los Angeles Rams. But I think they need to acknowledge that this year has to matter a little bit more because of the shortcomings. Because Lamar Jackson in particular still carries that. Because I don't know what the shelf life is for Derrick Henry. As I said yesterday, maybe Derrick Henry can keep eating kale until he's 50. I don't know. But they signed him for 2 years. And maybe you can even add on other things like because you never know at what point. Everybody always likes to say, I think John Harbaugh's message has gone stale. And part of this is John Harbaugh does have a contract up after next year. Like, that part of this matters too. Like, you do need to decide how committed you are. And while that conversation was rearing its head again when the Ravens were 0-2, it, of course, dissipates when they're 4-2. But if there's another flame out in the playoffs this year, that conversation will rightly return. And maybe the Ravens are so insulated and so just do not care about what you think. They say, we don't care what happens. We know we've got a good head coach. We've got a good infrastructure. We're going to do our thing. Maybe that's the case. But I would think that for John Harbaugh's sake, if he wants to keep, maybe John Harbaugh has decided in his heart of hearts, like, I'm good. I don't have any interest in another contract. Like, I'm going to coach out this contract, then I'm done. But if that's the case, you'd like to think that they would try to be aggressive for him too. I think all of those factors should make this season matter more than other seasons have, which is un-Ravens-like. It's not Ravens-like to identify 1 year and say this 1 year is more important than other years are. The basis of how the Ravens do their business is we want to be in it every year. Ever since the salary cap purge following the Super Bowl 35 title, they did aggressively go for it to not only try to win Super Bowl 35, but then immediately afterwards, Jamal Lewis gets hurt and, things kind of go screwy from there. But after that purge, they as an organization got together, Ozzie Newsome down, and had a philosophy. The philosophy is it's never about 1 year. It's about sustainability. And as a fan, I've appreciated that. The team is almost never not in the mix. The only times we have dealt with the Ravens being irrelevant have been with quarterback injuries since that decision. Steve McNair got hurt in 2007. 2007 went to hell. Joe Flacco got hurt. 2015, thank you. I'm like, what, was it 15 or 16? You never. And that season went to hell. They also had no wide
Jimmy Clausen tried.
Yeah, God bless him.
So
who beat the Steelers? Yeah, it was Shaw that beat the
Shaw.
Steelers that year in the mustard pants. God, just gross. But those 2 seasons, they were irrelevant. They were irrelevant because their quarterback got hurt. They've had seasons more recently where their quarterback got hurt and they were still relevant. Because that's their philosophy. Their philosophy is we're relevant constantly. And if we just keep being relevant, we get to the playoffs, let the chips fall, we see what happens. And overwhelmingly, I've appreciated that. It's why I don't join you guys in screaming about, change for change's sake. Because I have appreciated the philosophy of prioritize being good, see what happens in the playoffs. Your argument is, well, what's been happening in the playoffs? Not a lot. And you're right when you make that argument. You're right. So It doesn't mean to me that it's time to go crazy. I'm not going into full F them picks mode, although we'll revisit that during Would You Rather Wednesday because I think I've created an interesting scenario.
I don't want to overreact to the way yesterday played out with two big time wide receivers being traded. But it does feel like DeAndre Hopkins would be it's a seems like a sensible move. The Titans aren't doing anything.
Yeah, it's sensible and the price is low.
It doesn't mortgage your future. And talking to Derek Mason last week, it makes it
well, and it prevents him from going to
Kansas City.
Yeah, or Pittsburgh, right?
I don't think he scares me as much in Pittsburgh.
Well,
but
nobody
yes,
really scares you in Pittsburgh. But yes, they're right now their second and third options are Van Jefferson and Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson, just about anything
could be something. Roman Wilson could be something.
Maybe. Right now
they're trying to keep him off the field, but yeah.
Yeah, right now he's not. Anything is and I think I've seen them tied to Adam Thielen in a few trade conversations as well.
Still IR right now.
I don't know enough about Adam Thielen's situation to know if that's one of those IR things where hey, it's real weird. All of a sudden I feel it's a Devontae Adams thing. Yeah, I don't know how great I feel. Oh, Pittsburgh, yeah, all of a sudden I don't know, I feel pretty good. Let's get out there. And see if I can't give it a try. I don't know the deal. I don't have that answer. But yeah, I'm not.
He's also got a hamstring for.
What was it before? Was it not?
Adams also has a hamstring. Devontae Adams also had a hamstring. So it's
they both.
That's the.
It's
that's
just
the
magic. This is
that's
the term.
thing where
this
it's
is the term
hamstring could be could be 8 weeks. Could be he's ready today.
Correct. Anyway, moral of the story being, I do think that it fortifies my thought process that there is a need for an amount of aggression that is unique to this year. And as we said before, it's not like the Ravens have never been aggressive before. The Roquan Smith trade was aggressive. It was really un-Ravens-like to trade such a high pick for a player that at the time was not under contract moving forward. It was really un-Ravens-like. Now, it was still sensical, the idea being, well, if you lose him, you're getting a third-round pick. So you essentially traded a pick swap for the rest of that season of Roquan Smith. You could still make it make sense even after they made it, but it's still aggressive and un-Ravens-like. It ultimately worked out, at least up until this point. We're still, verdict's a little out on Roquan this season. We'll see how it goes. But that's the type of aggression that I think is at least warranted. If it was DeAndre Hopkins, it wouldn't even be that aggressive, right? I think that there is warrant for at least that much aggression from the Baltimore Ravens moving towards the trade deadline. And I think what we're already seeing, the arms race in the AFC that's loading up, fortifies that. And it doesn't mean it has to be at wide receiver. I keep coming back to that. The first couple of guys that we knew to be on the trade block were wide receivers. So that was where the conversation was. We don't really know what secondary pieces are out. I've seen Andre Sisco's name thrown out there a little bit. I know we've talked about Budda Baker before. And I think, who's the cornerback? Greg Newsome, I feel like his name has been out there a little bit from the Browns. Are the Browns going to empty it out? What other edge rushers?
Here? Yeah.
What's that?
Would they trade Baltimore?
You wouldn't think so, but then it comes back to is Baltimore willing to pay a bigger price than the rest of the market is to pay a tax for making a trade within the division? I don't think that that's logical. It's the same thing as the potential for a Zadarius Smith reunion. I just don't. It's the same thing we talked about with Amari Cooper. It never seems like it's likely for a trade to happen within the division. But it's also not unprecedented that trades have happened within divisions. And sometimes it's just about cost and who else is interested and things along those lines. If somebody's a pending free agent, for example, and you don't think the team's going to re-sign them, then maybe it doesn't really hurt you all that much to say, hey, we're out of it this year, and I don't know enough about these players' situations. But I do think aggression is needed. And I think that we've been reminded of that because of what's happened with the AFC this week. And we'll see. We'll see if it affects anything and what the Ravens might do over the coming weeks. All right. You want to remind everybody what's going on at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland?
Sure thing, because every time over at Live Casino Hotel Maryland, every time that Baltimore or Washington's football team score touchdowns during home games, Live Rewards members will receive $7 in free slot play. You have to have your Live Rewards card inserted correctly into the slot machine. Any slot machine on the floor. You have to be actively playing as well to get your prize, but once Baltimore or Washington scores a touchdown during their home game, $7 in free slot play for Live Rewards members. Adirondack Mills must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
New print issue of PressBox on newsstands starting today and at PressBoxOnline.com. Maryland basketball story on the cover, but a Baltimore-centric Maryland basketball story. We'll tell you more about it next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Experience the thrill of the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Advisory, coming October 17th to the 20th. See the world's best equestrians compete in the sport of eventing, the ultimate test of horse and rider. Enjoy a weekend festival featuring locally sourced food at the Fresh Food Fest, a beer, wine, and spirits showcase, shopping, and fun for all ages. Check out the Maryland Corgi Cup, interactive kids corner, and more. It's the place to be in October. Visit Maryland5star.us for tickets.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their legendary fat, delicious, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. It's crab season, so sit back and crack some crabs while watching the Birds pursue another divisional title on Costas's 15 TVs. On Monday night, the Costas Inn offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30. So head on down to the Costas Inn today at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at costasinn.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, Brooks Dubose profiles Maryland basketball forwards Derik Queen and Julian Reese as the Baltimore-built duo reunites in College Park with hopes of bringing the Terps back to prominence. Also inside, meet college basketball players from all of the area's D1 programs. PressBox is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores, where you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
Need a trophy or award that's as unique as the achievement? Look no further than Crown Trophy. With locations in Owings Mills and Gaithersburg, they specialize in custom trophies, plaques, and medals for any occasion. From sports and academic awards to employee recognition and corporate gifts, visit crowntrophy.com today and let them help you create a lasting memory for your school, team, or business. Crown Trophy is a proud supporter of the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association. crowntrophy.com.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR to continue along here on a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of the program with a reminder to you all, it's Would You Rather. It's a game. God. It's a cap ramification. Stop it! We're not actually trying to solve.
You have to talk about. You have to consider.
No, you don't. You have to if you're Eric DaCosta. Not if you're Dave. Not a concern. It's really annoying. Scenarios are up at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter, Facebook.com/Glenn Clark Radio. Stop trying to tell me how smart you are. I believe that you're smart and very pretty, and your mother loves you very much. You're a very special boy. We play a hypothetical game. If that's too much, don't play. Griffin doesn't have to give out the $30 gift card to Glory Days Grill. He could just choose to keep it for himself. Nope, I take it back. You're not allowed to do that. But he doesn't have to give it to you. He can give it to somebody else. We're trying to give you a $30 gift card to Glory Days Grill. All you got to do is keep it in your pants. All you got to do is play along and not tell me about, but the salary cap ramification.
Salary cap's not real.
Shut up, nerd. Shut up. We're playing a game over here. Sorry. I knew what I was doing, and it still bothered me. Today's show also brought to you by County Sports Zone, which is the home for everything that you need to know about high school sports here in the state of Maryland. CountySports.zone, it's proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Anything, scores, schedules, updates, rankings, news, anything you need to know, they've got you covered for every sport, every team, all over the state. CountySports.zone is where you find it. New print issue of PressBox is available today at your neighborhood Royal Farms and any of those hundreds of locations around town. Plus, you can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. On the cover, Baltimore Built, a story of two former St. Francis teammates who have now reunited in College Park with the hopes of returning Maryland basketball to prominence. To tell us a little bit more about this story, all about Julian Reese and Derik Queen, we bring in the author of that story. He is Brooks Dubose, and he is with us now here on GCR. Brooks, it's Glenn. It's good to chat with you. Glad you were able to take on this assignment. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Sure thing. Happy to be here, man.
Hey, Brooks, when you got this assignment, what was your thought about where this story should go?
It's actually interesting. There's a lot of ways this could go, right? There's a lot of pieces to this, big name player, NIL, Reese being trying to cement his legacy and all of those kinds of things. But I honestly landed on, the idea was right. It was immediate. I was actually probably a couple of months ago, I live in Baltimore. I was driving on 95 and I looked over and I see this billboard and I'm like, oh man, it's two tall kids, in Maryland jerseys. And I was like, that is exciting to see two, Baltimore Suns coming to College Park. And it was, Reese on one side, Queen on the other. I didn't know a ton about Queen. I'd known that he had committed a few months before and had dominated the McDonald's All-American game. But then to see it on a billboard, I was like, well, that's exciting to me. So it's probably exciting them too. And so that's kind of why I sort of led the story with that. But I just wanted to talk to them both about sort of their relationship, their ties to Baltimore, and how they want to kind of bring that into a season where, Terps fans want to see something, after last year.
I think it's interesting, and that is exactly how the story starts. And that before we get into the other elements of it, that element is sort of this maybe almost unspoken thing, which is this kind of frosty relationship that has existed for some folks in Baltimore related to the University of Maryland, where you hear back, well, they don't even always get the best Baltimore kids, and they'll sit there and they'll name off all of the Will Bartons of the world, the Rudy Gays of the world, and all of the players that went elsewhere and found success. And we saw this a couple of years ago with Darryl Morsell and Jalen Smith, and the hopes, and you never know how that COVID season might have turned out for those two guys and what they might have been able to do. It wasn't trending well in the moment, but Jalen Smith was pretty freaking good. It does seem like when you have a situation like this, it does generate more interest throughout the state about Maryland basketball.
Right. I mean, Baltimore is the heart of the state. And when you have two guys, not Reese has been there for 3 years, but adding a guy who is a consensus 5-star All-American, dominated at Munford last year, 33-0 team, to bring a guy like that you have the legacy aspect, and then you have a guy who is almost certainly going to play in the NBA. Mm-hmm. I think it does add a level of excitement to the upcoming season. People, I've talked to friends of mine who were like, oh man, I'm excited to see this kid play. And if you do, you're gonna see some pretty impressive moves. I'll tell you that.
All right, so in the story you referenced, like they only played together a little bit, obviously, at St. Francis before Julian Reese went on to to college, and then of course the trip to IMG for Derik Queen, where he finished his prep career. But the relationship does seem significant because I do feel like in a lot of situations it could be an awkward situation for Sir Julian Reese to bring in a prominent focal big man, someone whom we know is going to be such an important part of the offense. But it does feel like the relationship between the two should make this more palatable and make this something that is a bit smoother for Maryland going in this season.
Yeah, what was really striking, I went down to College Park in like mid-September and chatted with both of them. And, Reese, if you've ever talked to him, he's pretty reserved. He's pretty quiet. He's this, sort of gentle giant. He has a lot of aggression on the floor and plays with a lot of passion, but off the court, he's not a very demonstrative person. But then when I asked him, I was like, hey, what does it kind of mean to be able to play with a guy like Derik, who you have a past relationship with? You could see him animate. You could see him sort of like brighten up. And he was, he said something along, I think it's in the piece, but it's something along the lines of, it's icing on the cake to play with my little brother. Yeah. Like, so they have that relationship, and it shows. And I think it's, he even said that in terms of Queen's demeanor, a guy like a consensus 5-star, somebody who's basically been kind of already anointed by scouts and recruiting experts and things like that. He doesn't have the ego of someone like that. He has a very jovial nature, and I asked Willard about that. I said, he seems to just love basketball, and Willard was like, yeah, he's one of the most sort of fun-loving, joyful players that he's ever seen. I don't think it made it into the piece, but I asked Queen about that. I said, how do you keep it, so fun despite all that pressure, despite the, this being a business? And he would just immediately was like, I mean, it's a fun sport. I'm doing it every day. And like, that was the answer. And I was just like, that's perfect. That's cool. It's a refreshing example of like, hey, we're still playing a game. And it can still be fun despite all of the other outside factors,
He is Brooks Dubose. We're linking up the Baltimore Bill cover story on our Twitter account at Glenn Clark Radio, so you can go read it. But again, you can go pick up the issue starting today or read the entire new print issue of PressBox at PressBoxOnline.com. Brooks, as you go on in the story, it gets to the part that's like, as fun and neat as this story is, there's an amount of awkwardness to it. Like, hey, this is a really important season now because all of the goodwill of Kevin Willard's first season in College Park, where there weren't a lot of expectations, and they did get the job done, get into the tournament. They surpassed the minimal expectations. It raised the level of expectations, and then they fell very flat last season. And so it's easy for everyone that, has just sort of been turned off by the Turgeon years to go back to, same old Maryland basketball. There is a heightened amount of pressure, and as exciting as Derik Queen is, and you reference, like, the belief is he's in the NBA next year. I think I've already seen mock drafts with him in the first round of next year's NBA draft. But, like, is the front court the best way to build a team that can dramatically improve in the Big Ten this season and make a run in the NCAA tournament?
Sure. I mean, I think it's two pieces. One is, with Queen and Juju on the floor at the same time, which maybe only is going to be 12 to 15 minutes according to Willard. These guys are going to play on their own with a sort of cadre of new incoming transfers and a new freshman in Malachi Palmer. So you're going to have, at least the thesis is, all right, we were one of the worst 3-point shooting teams last year. Obviously that was well documented, and even Willard was like, we were horrible at just shooting the three. He does not hide it or shy away from it. But he also then, in the same breath says we were one of the best defensive teams. Mm-hmm. And that is true. They locked people down. Yep. So the hope being, if you've got a great interior defender like Juju, he's able to get spelled every once in a while with Queen coming in. And then you surround him, with the likes of Rodney Rice, Jacoby Gillespie from Belmont, Selton Miguel, who I also talked to for this piece, out of South Florida, the cousin of Bruno Fernando.
Yep.
You have some guys who, on paper, are shooting 35% and above for their career. So with two bigs, hopefully you're drawing a lot of attention defensively, and those guys have open shots. So that's sort of the thrust of it. Who knows? We'll see how they all gel. But on paper, it appears as though there's a possibility that there is improvement.
I did think one of the things in the story that was interesting was the comparisons between Derik Queen and Nikola Jokic, and him saying, and I had talked to him about this before too, that like that he's not sure that's the apt comparison.
Yeah. I mean, what's funny is I asked him too. I was like, because I kept reading it, and I think it came from his Montverde coach, Kevin Boyle, which he was like, you know what, he's that type. He's got the passing ability, and it's not a lazy comp, but it is an easy sort of like you see a big at that size who can pass and shoot, and he's like, he is the defending MVP of the NBA, so obviously you're gonna sort of draw the line. But I was like, what do you think about that? And he was like, I don't know, man. Like Coach Boyle kept saying that, but like I don't know if I believe it. I don't, I just like to. I think he likes to play offense a little bit more than that, and the passing skills are just kind of a sort of they are a benefit beyond that. But it is true, like he does have some of those comparisons. But I think we might even see a little bit of an outside threat as well as the season goes on.
That is the other fascinating part to me, right? Like this is not a world for true back to the basket big men. Like those days are over. Right. And I think that's one of the questions that a lot of people had about Derik Queen coming in is how much of that do we see? How much of that stretch game do we see from Derik Queen? Because presumably, if your eye's on the NBA moving forward, you've got to start letting people know that you can knock down outside shots.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be, I think it'll be a slow burn early on. Willard was very adamant that, like, we're not just going to put everything on this kid's shoulders. He's still very young. He's got a lot of guys around him that can help, that can sort of, usher him through a long season. And so I think we will see him as we get into Big Ten play into January and February, him starting to really grow into the game. But I wouldn't be shocked if, in the first couple of months of the season, he's not as much of a focal point just because he's sort of learning the game. And I think he knows that too. I think he is eager to go out there and prove himself. But I think he also understands that, like, you're not going to get drafted in November,
Right. Well, I mean, they do play some big. Actually, it's maybe not the daunting schedule they've had in a couple of years, but those big non-conference games do appear to be like an opportunity for a showcase. I bring this to, what does this do for Julian Reese? Because I think it's been very confounding for a lot of Maryland fans that Julian Reese showed up as a really good free throw shooter in his freshman year and has just been disastrous in that department over the last couple of seasons. And you presume he continues to work on it. I can't imagine that's not the case. But could the presence of Derik Queen make it more difficult for teams to just have the strategy of, go foul Julian Reese, he's not going to make free throws anyway?
Right. A little, the sort of the hack of Julian strategy. It could. I would venture a guess after talking to both of them and talking to Willard that, Willard said, I don't want him on the floor as much as he was. I think he was 13th among all players in terms of minutes played, and then that contributes to him getting tired, him making committing stupid fouls, which is another sort of knock on him. And then, the free throw shooting comes along with that, where it's just like, if he's not always on the floor and has been playing through, 8 or 9 or 10 minutes straight of getting banged down low and then having to go shoot free throws, I think that does play a factor in maybe hindering his ability a little bit. So I think Queen coming in and drawing some of that focus away can help a little bit, but I think he makes no bones about it. I think he needs to improve in that area, and I think as the season goes along, I think we will bump up from, I think last year was 50s, so that has to be improved for sure.
All right, so when you have someone who is a likely one-and-done NBA talent, it kind of makes that year a bit more important, right? What
Sure.
do you think are realistic expectations for this group, Brooks?
Yeah, I mean, so I did kind of ask them, I said, what is your, I asked Queen, what are your goals? And he's got the young, he's still maybe not as media trained as some other guys. And he was like, I want to win Freshman of the Year.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. I think he absolutely can hit that mark. The question is then, how does the team perform around that? And I think it kind of comes down to, are these shooters that you brought in, are they going to hit or surpass the marks that they've set in prior years? And is Julian going to take one more step as a senior to just really improve his game overall? I think if we're being realistic, I think they can vie for an NCAA spot. I mean, especially with the addition of the new teams into the Big Ten, I think that the number of bids that the Big Ten gets is going to probably expand a little bit, which might actually benefit Maryland to some degree. But I think making the tournament would be ideal. And honestly, Derek even said, like, I want to hit a Sweet 16. They haven't been to a Sweet 16 since 2016. So it's been almost a decade. And I think he sees that as a realistic goal. Now we'll see when it comes down to it. But I think once Selection Sunday comes, I think a success would be maybe a low single seed or maybe even a 9 or a 10. And I think that would be a success for Willard after last year's debacle.
Yeah, progress would be, I think, a fair word to say. Progress, but then you got to be able to build off of it, and you got to be able to find more Derik Queens in the coming years, and there is no guarantee of that whatsoever.
That's right.
Brooks, well done on the story, man. Really appreciate the effort you put into it. Can't wait for everybody to get out and read it. Thank you for spending a couple of minutes with us this morning. Let's chat again real soon, all right?
No problem. Anytime. See you.
Brooks Dubose with us here on GCR. And again, the new print issue of PressBox is available today. We are working on, because we are only a couple of weeks away from the start of college basketball. There was an exhibition game over the weekend. Michigan State played an exhibition game this past weekend at Northern Michigan, I believe. Apparently that's where Tom Izzo went to school, and they were doing like a day to honor Tom Izzo. And like my mind was just blown. Like, that's an exhibition game? Like, that's a thing that's occurring? What the hell is going on in the whole world? It's October, whatever date that would have been, the 12th, whatever. I'm like, this is not okay. What are we doing here? So Patrick and I are working on our annual college basketball preview show. It'll be somewhere in that Halloween week. We'll end up doing that with all the local coaches and get you ready for the start of college basketball season, which will be here before you know it. All right, winding down hour number 1 of GCR. Today's show also brought to you by Project Game Day, which returns this Monday night, late night edition of Project Game Day. Following Ravens-Buccaneers, come hang out with us at PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay. Myself, Rita, Femi, Stetka, maybe Old Man Zales if we can keep him up. Oh, man, Josh was messaging me last night. Josh enjoyed my imitation of mouth-breathing Ravens fans complaining about Commanders fans being there. Hey, it's embarrassing, man. You don't even understand. It's just it's just embarrassing. It should be like that. Dude, it's just embarrassing.
Yeah, well done. It's almost like you're so good at it.
Oh, you think it comes from?
It's like you're not acting.
Yeah, right. Comes from a place. Yeah, but we'll be back for Project Game Day on Monday night. Come hang out with us after the game is over. And speaking of Ravens-Buccaneers, our next guest will be on the call for Ravens-Buccaneers. Coming up early in the next hour, we will chat with Devin McCourty. He will be on the call for Westwood One. We'll do that when we come back in. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Brace yourselves for an unparalleled in-person betting experience at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook and Bars in Canton and Towson. Experience the thrill of live betting with Baltimore's only state-of-the-art Vegas viewing TV experience. Choose between our on-site tellers or the convenience of our self-bet kiosks to place your bets. Gather your betting buddies and head over to the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks today. Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton. The ultimate destination for game day excitement, great food, and live in-person betting. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Go to mdgamblinghelp.org.
Hey Baltimore, it's number 10, Arthur Millette, and I'm hoping you'll slot us in all season long for the Arthur Millette Show. We will be traveling around the region all season, giving you the chance to get to know me and my teammates. There will be some football talk and a lot more. You can watch this show live on PressBox's Facebook and YouTube pages and listen every Friday night on 105.7 The Fan. Find out more at PressBoxOnline.com/Millette. The Arthur Millette Show, the only show in town that's a work of art.
The next Arthur Millette Show is Wednesday, October 23rd at the Gourmet inside the shops at Kenilworth. It's brought to you by 1-800-GAMBLER and Easy Pass.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin, and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at DriveEasyMD.com.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
Really struggling today. Really struggling, you guys. Not everybody. Most of you are handling it fine. Most of you understand. Would you rather is a parlor game. Most of you get that. Some of you really don't. Also, one particular question today for Would You Rather Wednesday has been, dead 50-50. Like, dead 50-50 in the response. And yet somebody responded, is this a serious question? Well, one, no.
Well, should be taken very seriously.
No. Two, if you're saying that because you think the answer is so obvious, you're the only person that feels that way, because it is split 50-50. Been a wild day, Would You Rather Wednesday wise. We'll get into it a little bit later on, but you can still participate just by going to @Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter, Facebook.com/Glenn Clark Radio. All you got to do is get in. You don't even have to answer all three. You can just answer one, and that will immediately register to you to win a $30 gift card to Glory Days Grill. Look at what we do for you. Look at us. Look at us. Yesterday we told you that Yannick Ngakoue was going to the 53-man roster. The ultimate move was Saleh was let go by the Baltimore Ravens, whose name I will not attempt to. I never broke through, never was a factor, even when they needed offensive linemen to step up. So that can't be all that stunning. The Ravens don't like to be that thin along the offensive line, but if ultimately they didn't have any interest in playing Saleh anyway, then I'm not sure how much thinner it makes them. So that was the corresponding move for getting Arthur Millette. Well, Arthur Millette might still have to be moved to the roster this week, too. John Harbaugh said on Monday that they think that it could be this week for Arthur Millette to return. And if it's not this week, I believe it has to be the following week because his 21 days would be up at that point. Yeah. So it's either got to be Monday night or it's got to be next week. So there could be another roster move coming. But I think them releasing Saleh sort of answers the question. There was no magic, hey, look, this guy is headed to IR. Like, there was no corresponding move. And maybe they still think they could sign Saleh back to the practice squad. I don't know. I don't know how much of that is a priority for them, frankly. But that was the move yesterday, just to get Yannick Ngakoue onto the 53-man roster, which they had to do because there was they were going to be a week away from not having that choice anymore, and apparently teams were looking to sign him off the practice squad. So that was taken care of by the Baltimore Ravens this week. And as we alluded to earlier, apparently the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to turn their nation turns their lonely eyes to Russell Wilson. Despite getting off to a strong start, they are that's what they're doing. That's their move. And God bless them. Like, that's their choice. The bigger point to me isn't really about the difference between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. To me, it's about what team they put together. And they just didn't put together a team to be a dynamic passing offense. They didn't do that. Now, again, maybe they'll make moves. If they had traded for Devontae Adams, perhaps at that point it demands, like, you better be a better passing football team. But they don't have those pieces. What they were doing, just running the football, and it seems like, in hindsight, the best thing they could have done if they weren't invested and they didn't really the moves they made suggested to me they didn't really believe in Russell Wilson, because why go out and get, top-notch pass catchers if you don't think you have a great quarterback to throw the ball to? And if that's the case, then why not go all in on a Justin Fields offense and try to make it as similar to the 2019 Ravens as you possibly can, acknowledging Justin Fields is not Lamar Jackson. To be fair, going into 2019, we didn't know Lamar Jackson was Lamar Jackson. We didn't.
So maybe Justin Fields.
I'm not saying he. I'm not saying he would. It's not Lamar today for sure. But could he be some version of that? I don't know. And it's not fair. Lamar had an MVP season in 2019. I don't think there's any world in which Justin Fields is going to be the MVP of the league. But with the purposeful idea being, we're going to run and run and run and use the run in order to set up the pass. The only difference being, like, they definitely have the Ravens' top receiver in 2019 was Hollywood Brown. I think I would rather have George Pickens than Hollywood Brown, although Hollywood Brown was a fairly good fit for the speed of that. But, I mean, he wasn't even all that productive that year.
Well, they got Calvin Austin to...
Sure, I mean, they do have that. And the prototype trade would be, you would obviously much rather have 2019 Mark Andrews than Pat Freiermuth. Like, 2019 Mark Andrews is a huge upgrade on 2024 Pat Freiermuth. But George Pickens is really good. I think that you had the ability to go further in an attempt to replicate that than they were willing to do. And thinking that you're going to get a dynamic passing offense out of Russell Wilson and that group of pass catchers, I would rather face that than face Justin Fields and that a running attack. And again, the running attack now takes a step back because you're not – Russell Wilson still has some escapability, but he's not a dynamic downfield runner anymore. So you don't have to fear that when you go to prepare for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The ironic part, we're saying this where the secondary has struggled, to start the season, and the run defense has been the best in football.
Fair. I just still don't. I still think the dynamicism of that is more significant. Look, we'll see. Maybe they have found something in Russell Wilson that they can turn back the clock and get a much better version of Russell Wilson. We'll find out. I'm skeptical myself, but it could ultimately be the case. That's their choice. That's the one they're making, and we'll see how it turns out at least for now. And they, of course, obviously would have the right to flip that around and do something different in a few weeks if it's not working for them. But for now, the answer is Russell Wilson for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Of course, the Ravens still don't play the Steelers for another few more weeks because both games are late in the season, so who knows what the case will be at that point. All right, Ravens-Buccaneers coming up on Monday night in Tampa. Our next guest will be on the call for Westwood One. You know him not only from there, but obviously also from Football Night in America. He is former safety, Mr. Devin McCourty, and he is back with us now here on GCR. Devin, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you as always, man. Thank you so much for taking the time for us this morning.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me.
Man, I was watching on Sunday night. You guys were heaping an awful lot of praise on the Baltimore Ravens on Football Night in America. And I get it, right? Like, we're very excited about what we're seeing. Is this the best offense in football, Devin?
Yeah, I mean, I think the abilities of what they have, and, I think when you add a guy like Derrick Henry and you bring him into an offense, I think they had to figure out the rhythm and what they wanted to do. I know Harbaugh said early in the season they didn't bring him there to give him the ball 25 times a game. But I think they've realized, like, what makes Derrick Henry so tough is tackle him in the fourth quarter. And you don't want to give a defense a break by, not making them tackle him and not allowing him to wear defenses down. So I think, they haven't really paid attention as much to, how many carries he gets, but just the flow of the game of letting him go. And if you look at the Cincinnati game, he was pretty much shut down for most of the game. And then out of nowhere in overtime, he breaks the long run because I played against him. Like, the guy, every single time he gets the ball, you got to bring a helmet and shoulder pads, and you got to bring it to him to tackle him, or he's going to run through tackles. It's going to be a big game. So I think them really understanding and establishing him a part of the offense and, honestly, like the lead part of the offense, I think it's changed the way they've played, and it's freed up other guys like Zay Flowers, Bateman, obviously the tight ends with Andrews and Likely. So I think it's really helped their offense.
Devin, I'm glad you brought that up, man, because I don't know. We had watched plenty of Derrick Henry over the years, but not the game in, game out thing. And seeing the difference from the first quarter to the fourth quarter is just wild. And like the Commanders, for example, on Sunday in the first quarter, were holding Derrick Henry in check, right? Like the game was not Derrick Henry centric early on. And you get to the fourth quarter, and it's just a different story from having gone up against him and seeing, your teammates up front, these big guys. Can you speak to just the factor of how he wears you down during the course of a football game?
Yeah, I mean, I've always looked at it. I got the opportunity to play against Derrick Henry, and I got the opportunity to play against Brandon Jacobs when he was on the New York Giants. And they're just two guys who, I mean, let's be honest, they're defensive ends. They have the body type of defensive ends, but can run hard. And, I think as a game plan, you come in as a defense, and the thing you say is, we're going to stop these big backs. We're not going to let them get going, because we saw against Buffalo, Derrick Henry breaks the first run off. It's going to be a long night, because now you got to try to adjust. But I think you talk about Washington, they came in and they're like, all right, Derrick Henry's not going to run the ball. We're going to put the guys up there. Baltimore hands them the ball. It feels like they're shutting them down, but it's opening up everything else because they're so focused on Derrick Henry. So then naturally as a coach, you start to make some adjustments. And then when you make those adjustments, now you're in a situation where you have to tackle Derrick Henry one-on-one. There's probably going to be one free guy that, is going to be at the point of attack. and there might be another free guy that you know is going to be free, but he's going to be on the other side of the ball. So now for that guy that gets a one-on-one, is that a linebacker, is that a free safety, or is that a corner? Because all of that matters of, is this guy going to realistically make this tackle on Derrick Henry play after play as the game wears on? And you've seen throughout this early part of the season, you're not going to find many teams that are going to tackle Derrick Henry play after play after play all night long until the end of the game. So kudos to Monken and their offensive staff of continue to just kind of build. I think we all, especially in the media, we make these kind of, crazy, whether you want to call them takes or opinions, after one game, then the next game, and the season, the truth of the matter, it's a long season. You got to figure out who you are and build towards that. And, teams like Baltimore, like Detroit, Kansas City, like these teams, they need to be playing their best ball at the end of the season in January. And I think they realize that, and I think that's their focus right now.
He is Devin McCourty. He's with us here on GCR. He's on the call for Ravens-Bucs Monday night on Westwood One. Devin, I asked that to sort of say, like, I think there is this feeling within Baltimore that, hey, if that Chiefs game hadn't been week 1, if it had been at this point, we'd like our chances an awful lot better, provided that the principals stay healthy, provided Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson remain on the field. Does this look to you like the Ravens have found the solution for how to finally get past the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs?
I think from the outside looking in, that's how we want to look at it. But, from a football standpoint, none of that matters. Like Baltimore had it last year. They had the weapons. They had the guys. They didn't get it done. So to beat a team, it comes down to on that given Sunday, whenever it is, hopefully for Baltimore, it's in the AFC Championship. They got to figure out a way to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Like I was at that game last year, called it for Westwood One. They had opportunities to flat out win that game, and they didn't. They fell short. They didn't make the plays necessary. But, I didn't walk away saying, like, they just don't have enough. Now, obviously, adding Derrick Henry helps. But still, at the end of the day, they got to go out and beat the team. So I don't think the regular season should vary on the confidence level, that they have, that they can beat Kansas City. They should remain high in that. And, it comes down to, when you get to that game, are you playing your best ball? Are you making the right plays situationally? That's what's going to matter for Baltimore when they have to play against Kansas City, again. And, if they play them again, it'll be in the playoffs. So that's when it matters the most.
All right. We're talking to the 3-time Super Bowl champion, Devin McCourty. Devin, the flip side of how good the offense has been is the defense has been very un-Ravens-like, and particularly the pass defense, and I know you know a thing or two about this, has been – the statistics would tell you bad. If you kind of try to neutralize it for opponent, maybe it's more like mediocre. How concerned would you be about the Ravens' pass defense? Are we at a point where, hey, if the offense is chugging along like this doesn't really matter all that much, it's more important to be that good offensively? Or would you be concerned that the pass defense being as porous as it's been could be what trips the Ravens up ultimately?
Yeah, I would be concerned. I think, I think everything in football, you have to have a sense of urgency. Like, nothing just happens for you. And I truly believe teams that want to be Super Bowl teams, you can't be good on one side of the ball. Like, I think Kansas City has shown that more than anybody. Like, Kansas City was good for a lot of years, but everybody every week kept saying, like, their defense, they got to step it up. And, Mahomes, it doesn't matter, though, because they'll outscore you. And you saw, like, they kept falling short, So when they finally kind of got the defense where they wanted, you saw this run that they've had now. So I think for Baltimore, we've never talked about Baltimore not having a defense. I think earlier this year when we spoke, we talked about the culture and tradition of players change and people change, but this defense still has a standard. I think they got to get back to that. I think overall they've rushed the passer pretty well, and I think the problem now is you can't live off the pass rush. You can't live off, we have a good play if we get to the quarterback. The guys in the secondary, they have the guys. I think they're fully confident in the guys they have in the secondary. It's just a blend. It's figuring out how to make the play when the other team knows you're a man, you're playing man, and, it's a man against a man, and who gets the stop. So I would like to see them be a little bit more, I think, aggressive in early downs. I think they're still figuring out, how to do everything. I think having Geno Stone back there last year gave them a third piece as safety that they kind of all knew how it worked together. I think now with Eddie Jackson, another good player, they're still figuring out how that all blends together, who's going to play corner every which way. You have Washington who comes in and plays some plays, but he's not out there all the time. Then you throw in Wiggins, Stevens, and Humphrey. It's kind of like 4 guys for 3 spots. So they're figuring out how that all kind of works. In New England, we had a thing like that when we have 4 guys for 3 spots at corner, and it's all figuring out who plays the best, in what situation. So I think obviously those guys in the secondary, they have to be feeling that pressure of, needing to step up and make plays. But when I watch them, a lot of the plays they haven't made, it's been, losing the one-on-one matchup,
Right.
whether it's been when Dallas was coming back and CeeDee Lamb made some plays, or, against Cincinnati when guys made some plays. So that's what it comes down to. And you're going against top guys. Covering Terry McLaurin's not easy. He made some catches where you're in good position, it's good defense, but they got to find a way to make those plays if you don't want, the Achilles heels of this team to be the pass defense. Because in this league, you're going to have to beat somebody that can throw the ball and have one of those great quarterbacks. You don't want to walk into the game thinking that we can't cover them and we can't stop them when they pass the ball.
It feels like communication has been a significant part of the issue, and I think the one guy that's been the level of play has been concerning, and I don't know how much of the film you've watched specifically, has been Marcus Williams, who he just sort of seems out of sorts. And a year ago, the problem was Marcus Williams seemed to be playing with one arm, right? And we were like, man, he's just not tackling the same way. But this year, he's looked healthy, but he's just looked like he's kind of regularly been in the wrong place. And I don't know if that's just, hey, new defensive coordinator, and I don't know what to make of someone who's been such a solid football player looking kind of just confused for this much of the season.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think usually when that happens, it goes back to fundamentals. Are your eyes where your eyes need to be? Are you going and tracking the right thing? Sometimes are you trying to make plays instead of just playing your spot and let the plays come to you? There's very few guys who will go out there and just, make plays and know what's coming. And I know Baltimore, that sounds, ridiculous because they have one of the few guys, Ed Reed, who could go out there and talk about the play he was going to make and then go make it. But, yeah, I think with Marcus Williams, I think it's hard to, when you come off a year where you feel like you're in the right position, but because of injury, it was hard to make some of the plays.
Yeah.
I think mentally that starts to make you kind of second-guess some things. So I think watching them out there, sometimes it's been just simple fundamentals, like missing tackles, different things like those are the things that you can't do as a player. And, you said it. He's a good player. He's a player that I think they count on to kind of lead the communication part of it, between him and Kyle Hamilton. As your safeties in the secondary, like communication comes down to them, making the right calls and doing the right thing. So you got to hope that, we're not falling short there, because then that leads to the other guys. I know they've had some plays this year where that's been an issue where, some free guys opening up. But I wouldn't say that's been their main issue of like why plays haven't happened. So I think for him, it might be just slowing the game down and just, as we should say in New England, just do your job. Like the plays will come, do your job, and let the rest happen.
I guess that worked out all right for you guys. I guess that was the case over the years. Devin, if I could, obviously with the struggles of the past defense, there had been a lot of, tying and speculating the Ravens maybe could have been in on the Davante Adams market. And so that's gone. But we see there is an arms race, obviously, unfolding in the AFC right now with the first couple of moves ahead of the trade deadline. Maybe, I don't even know, wide receivers, maybe DeAndre Hopkins is in that conversation. But do you feel like if the Ravens were to make a move, it should be on the defensive side of the ball? And is it secondary, or is it maybe adding in one more even edge rusher on top of the group that they have?
Well, I think you can never go wrong with, adding an edge rusher. I think the problem in the secondary is who's the guy that you think you're going to replace, and then who's that guy that's going to come in and pick up your defense and be ready to go right away in a spot. I think that's the hard thing. Like usually it's an injury or something that happens, and there's a guy out there that you think you can trade and get that can jump right into your system. So off the top of my head, I can't think of that player. And, I think obviously and they can add another receiver. I think that does nothing but help you because it gives another team something else to game plan for, or that person you bring in. When you bring out a receiver, you have a bunch of different guys that play. So you get a Hopkins, that changes how you might play in the red zone. You have a receiver now that you can throw up and make, really good contested catches. And that's a part of your team that, when you look at the Ravens, they don't really have that receiver that's bigger that can make those plays. So you look at that and you see the possibility. But I'm always like, sometimes your team's really good, and then sometimes there's a guy out there that helps it, and you go and you do it. But other times, you just got to go play. Like I look at the Jets, and Devontae Adams is going to be huge. But the game they just lost, they had two receivers go over 100 yards. Breece Hall went over 100 yards rushing. Like they did everything that they could do on offense, and maybe Devontae makes a touchdown catch that Garrett Wilson couldn't hang on to when he got hit in the end zone. But like the Ravens have showed that they can go out there and play good ball overall, especially on the offensive side. Your defense, the guys that you're talking about, they have showed that too. So it's sometimes getting your guys in a place where like, hey, we need you to play better so we can go win. We don't think there's somebody on the outside that's going to be better, because that's the hard thing right now. Like you got to find a guy that, if you go in and you try to replace Marcus Williams, you got to find a guy that can come in and run your secondary, be that guy, and you have to know he's going to be better than what you have. So it's a hard decision. I don't envy any of the general managers, DeCosta, and these guys that have to make these decisions, because when you make them and it hits, everybody loves you.
Right.
And when it doesn't work, everyone thinks you should lose your job because of it. So
it feels decision. It's a weird thing, Devin, where like normally it's unlike the Ravens, although they did make a bold move for Roquan a couple years ago, and that one has worked out obviously very well. But like typically the Ravens are the team that says we value the draft picks, we want to keep being good year in and year out. I don't know, given their playoff shortcomings. And, given that Derrick Henry's probably not going to be here for, 5 to 6 years, it feels like this year kind of needs to matter a little bit more for the Ravens than typically the, hey, no year matters more than another one does, the philosophy they've had as an organization.
Oh, yeah, I believe in that. I believe when you have a team you think is good enough to win a Super Bowl, you got to go do it. Like, there's no promise on anything. They have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL on their team right now. Like each year that you don't win, there's an opportunity that he could get hurt, and that shoots your dreams all the way down the drain. You think about the Patriots in 2007, you go undefeated, you lose in the Super Bowl the very next year, 2008. You're thinking, all right, we're going to get back, we're going to do it again. You lose Tom Brady week one.
Right.
You just never know what can happen. So, yeah, if I'm the Ravens, I'm thinking right now, like, hey, as I'm saying that, maybe it's not a move. If there's a move that you think helps you win the Super Bowl, you go out and you do it. I just think you go all in when you have a guy that can win a Super Bowl, because waiting doesn't help you in this league. Like every team's getting better. Every team's ready to go. You think about the Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Burrow, draft him 1 overall, gets hurt his rookie year, comes like that. They're in the Super Bowl. Like that, nobody picked them to go to the Super Bowl, but that's how things happen in this league. You never know what can happen. So Baltimore, you're in the AFC Championship last year. You're a game away from being in a big one. Like you can't just automatically think you're going to get back to that game. You got to be fully focused on winning the whole thing, because you never know what can happen.
All right. I know I've kept you long. I feel bad. I haven't even brought up the Buccaneers. And, like, we keep waiting for the schedule to break a little bit in Baltimore. Like, there's been this, like, daunting schedule. And here you got to go down to Tampa and play this Buccaneers team. What has made this Buccaneers team so good, so dynamic, and how dangerous are they on Monday night?
I mean, they're very dangerous. And, I'm hoping to get on the field and ask Baker Mayfield before the game, like, how was he wired? Like, you watched the first half of the Saints game. I mean, he threw 3 interceptions. Easily could have been 5 interceptions. There's 2 other drop interceptions. He comes out and he's still firing the ball, and he puts up 51 points because he has a mentality and he has the weapons over there that I think he knows, like, hey, I just got to let it rip, and I'm going to be right more times than I'm going to be wrong. And then when I am wrong, that can't change the way I play. So I think you see that, obviously, we know about Evans and we know about Godwin and what they can do. And I think, last week kind of showed 2 new guys. I think people recognize Bucky Irvin and what he can do, and then Shaw Tucker comes out there and has a huge game.
Baltimore's
so depending on Rachaad White's status, like, they have a lot of different weapons, running the ball and throwing the ball, that makes it tough. And, I think the hard thing for the Bucs on defense is they got to figure out how you want to play Lamar Jackson. He's one of those guys that, they draw up some pretty good blitzes, but like that blitz you draw up that sends one guy free to the quarterback, it's not a guarantee you're going to get Lamar Jackson down. So if you miss, there's usually a lot of space. So that's the scary thing of when you draw up good blitzes and play against a guy like Lamar Jackson. The second part of that blitz is, can the guy I'm blitzing or the guy that I think is going to be free, is this a favorable matchup in a one-on-one against Lamar Jackson? And I think that's something they're going to have to always be alert about. If Vita Vea gets there, like, is he realistically going to get Lamar Jackson down if there's no edge to the defense and he has space? So I think that's going to be one of the key things I look at, how much Tampa decides to blitz Lamar.
He is Devin McCourty. It's at Devin McCourty on Twitter. Westwood One Monday night for Ravens-Buccaneers. As always, Football Night in America on NBC. Devin, anything else we can plug for you, man?
No, man, just enjoying the season so far. Some good matchups and a lot of parity so far throughout the league this year.
Devin, you are incredibly good at what you do. As good of a football player as you were, I feel like you might have been born for this, man. Like, you are very, very good
appreciate
at this,
it,
dude.
man.
Appreciate you taking the time for us. Enjoy being down in Tampa on Monday night, all right?
All right, man. Thanks. Have a good one.
Devin McCourty, 3-time Super Bowl champion with us here on GCR. It's a day of Super Bowl champions because we're going from one 3-time Super Bowl champion to another 3-time Super Bowl champion. And then, of course, Griffin and I have combined to, well, he's a national champion. He's got that. I was a curling champion.
National?
Well, no, a curling invitational champion.
Oh. Yeah. Nice.
Got a lot of. I was an Asian Asian zing wing eating invitational champion.
Okay, that's something.
What else have I been a champion of? I've been bar champion of trivia, but never.
You might be
never world champion.
You might be. I could be. Maybe I'm stepping out of my lane, but you might be the best host of Glenn Clark Radio. That
I'm
Glenn
trying
Clark
to think
Radio.
over the years of who else has stepped in.
Stan's been pretty solid.
Stan's he's a good hand. He's a Pat Fryermuth type, is the way that I would describe him. Gary's okay. He's all right. KZ, obviously, is a solid. God, we brought in somebody else once to host. I'm trying to remember who it was. Years ago when I was gone. The crew from Section 336 came in and hosted the show.
Okay.
One time when I was out. They did the show with Kyle, and that was fun. That was a good way to mix it up and do something different. And they did their own intro for the show. They had someone make a song about them to intro the show. It was cool, man. I was into it. I think I was at WrestleMania and I was listening. I was like, this is fun. They should keep doing it. Maybe I should just stop. Should make it Section 336 radio instead of GCR. I'd be in favor of that. All right, we are going to be joined by Randy Cross here in just a minute. Reminder, the next Arthur Millette show is 1 week from tonight. Next Wednesday night, October 23rd. We will convene at the Gourmet at the Shops at Kenilworth, a stone's throw from where I sit. Come over and hang out with us. Rita, myself, Arthur, his special guest. We're going to have a great night. I do not know if Arthur is doing a ticket. I guess you should probably check in with him about that if he's planning on doing another ticket giveaway. I know that our winner from last week had a great time at the game on Sunday. It's just an awesome event. It's a new location. Looking forward to getting over there, trying out the Gourmet. If you haven't been before, this is a great opportunity for you to do, proverbially kill two birds with one stone. Get to your first Arthur Millette show and try a new restaurant that you haven't tried before. Can do both things at once. Win. It's all brought to you by a great group of folks, including Easy Pass and 1-800-GAMBLER. So get over to the Gourmet at the Shops at Kenilworth next Wednesday night for the Arthur Millette Show. Find out more, PressBoxOnline.com/Millette. That's where you can get some more information. Joe says, why do you think there were so many early trades? And do you think it continues? It's a good question, Joe. I would say, I think the Devontae Adams thing, the Raiders just wanted to get that over with. Like, Devontae Adams wasn't going to play for them. He was done there. Let's just get it over with. And it does feel like perhaps the Bills were in on the Devontae Adams conversation, and when it became clear that wasn't going to happen, they aggressively moved to the next best option on the table. My gut is that once you get into game week, teams are less inclined to make deals. That Monday, Tuesday, you have those conversations. By the time you get into preparation for the week, teams maybe not as interested in continuing to prioritize trade conversations. That's my gut. I don't know that. I feel like I've had that conversation before with friends of mine that work in front offenses. Or like the conversations can continue, but you don't want to make trades as the team is preparing for a game. It's awkward. Like somebody's in there getting ready for a game and then they just walk out. Like once you get to Wednesday, it feels like teams kind of go back into game mode. So it feels like Monday, Tuesday are kind of the days for trying to get trades done. I'm not an expert, and I don't know that couldn't mean, that doesn't mean there couldn't be a trade that's made today. But my gut tells me that was part of what happened. The fallout from the Devontae Adams thing was, well, the Bills said, let's just hurry up and get this Amari Cooper thing done. So a betting man, I would say next week is when things could continue. Do you smell what I smell? And are you as unnerved by it as I am? Like, it smells like gas or fire, right? Fire. You could convince me that it smells like gas. You could convince me of that as well. Yeah, I'd look to see if there's a fire for sure. Definitely make sure that there's not it's like a burning house and we're just sitting on the couch chilling out as it all burns down around us. Let's make sure that's not the case. I don't know what happened there, but all of a sudden, in the middle of that soliloquy, I didn't like what I smelled. And we're going to get to the bottom of that. Maybe we need to take a break. Why don't we do that? Why don't we take a break and just make sure? Oh? Are you confident that? I think we're safe. I'm a little bit unnerved by the smell. Could be anything. I don't know, but I'm a bit unnerved by it. I don't like it. I always worry that it's one of these computers, like overheating. That's what I always, whenever I smell something like that.
At least not that one.
Okay, good.
That's the oldest one, so
that's the most likely to be the one that's overheating. It's going to be really awkward when it's the one we just got. That's going to be really uncomfortable for everybody involved. This is Griffin's new job description is computer sniffer.
All right, we'll take a break.
All right, we'll take a break. Scheduled to be joined by Randy Cross when we come back in to talk Navy football. Plus, we got to get to Would You Rather Wednesday. That's on the way. It is Glenn Clark Radio.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at DriveEasyMD.com.
PressBox's Project Game Day is the place to be after every game this season. Join Glenn Clark, Rita Hubbard, Super Bowl 35 champion Femi Adebayo, and our cast of regulars as they break down what happened, why it mattered, and what it means moving forward. You can watch the show at PressBoxOnline.com/gameday or PressBox's Facebook and YouTube pages. Project Game Day is brought to you by the Green Turtle Sportsbook in Towson and Canton, Easy Pass, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. So join us for Project Game Day after every game day this football season at PressBoxOnline.com/game day.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their legendary fat, delicious, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. It's crab season, so sit back and crack some crabs while watching the Birds pursue another divisional title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday night, the Costas Inn offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30. So head on down to the Costas Inn today at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at CostasInn.com.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Brace yourselves for an unparalleled in-person betting experience at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook and Bars in Canton and Towson. Experience the thrill of live betting with Baltimore's only state-of-the-art Vegas viewing TV experience. Choose between our on-site tellers or the convenience of our self-bet kiosks to place your bets. Gather your betting buddies and head over to the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks today. Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton. The ultimate destination for game day excitement, great food, and live in-person betting. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Go to mdgamblinghelp.org.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of the program. We're confident that we're safe. We don't have to evacuate the building and stand outside and have somebody wrap a blanket around us. I wouldn't mind the blanket, though. Like, that's always the one thing about those situations is you do get a cool blanket out of the deal, and I'm not opposed to that. When I was out in Indianapolis with USA Lacrosse over the weekend, because I remember whenever my father worked for the government, and whenever he went away, he would always bring back something for my sister and I. Like, hey, I know I wasn't here, but here's a gift because I was gone for a couple days. It was always thoughtful, and I always appreciated it, and I always got excited. Like, Dad's coming home. I wonder what, like, he was in Dallas. I bet he got me a Cowboys T-shirt, and then I would like wear the Cowboys T-shirt. This is before we had a team in Baltimore. People would be like, "Are you a Cowboys fan?" I'd be like, "No, but my dad gave it to me," and like it was just the way that it went. Now, if we had a team and he had got me a Cowboys T-shirt, I would have said, you can burn your Cowboys T-shirt. But we didn't have a team, so I was up for grabs. I was to be had by whatever pretty girl walked by. So I said, I'm out here working for USA Lacrosse. I should probably get my kids something. And at the USA Lacrosse store, their
pop-up shop or
whatever they did it, they had USA Lacrosse themed stuffed animals. They just didn't have. I was looking at the T-shirts. If they had Charlotte North T-shirts in my kids' sizes, I would have gotten those because she's a freaking star. But like. Or if they had they had some Trevor Baptiste shirts, but none were in my kids' sizes. I was like, all right, I'll just get them these stuffed animals. So I get them the stuffed animals, and then one of the vendors who was there, like in the vendor village, as I was walking away, was like, "Hey man, you want some towels?" And I was like, "What?" He was like, "No, you can just have them." I was like, "Oh, okay." So he throws me these 2 towels. So I leave. I get home on late Sunday night, and I leave the stuffed animals and the towels sitting on the kitchen island for the kids to see them the next day. And Monday night I was at trivia, so I didn't get home until late. The kids are already in bed, and my younger son yells up like, "Oh, thank you for the stuffed animal." And I was like, "Oh yeah." He's like, "I already gave it a name." I don't remember what he named it, Laxy or something like that. You know, I don't. That's how they name stuffed animals, like something similar to the thing, but make it a name. Here's Laxy tucked in his blanket, and he had taken the towel because it was like a hand towel, and made it a blanket for the stuffed animal. I was like, "Oh, that's sweet. You're using the towel as a blanket." And he was like, "No, it is a blanket." And like in that moment, it struck me that the 7-year-old believed that I had also purchased a blanket for the stuffed animal. And that was what the towel was a stuffed animal blanket. And so in that moment, I'm like, yes, that's exactly what it is. I got a blanket for Laxy. That's exactly what happened here. You nailed it. Well done, sir. Well done.
Well,
so that's the way that it went.
They do most of the work themselves.
That's the way that it went. I'm not sure what that had to do with the fire. How did I get there from there? How did I start that?
I didn't even know that you started.
41 years old. This happened.
I thought you were just like, we're safe.
Doing the weave like Donald Trump. That's what's going on around here. But we're good. We don't have to. Oh, the blanket that you get when there's a fire. You go outside and they give you a blanket. Even when it's the middle of the summer, they give you a blanket. I don't know why. It's the way that it works.
Don't get burned anymore.
All right, so I don't know what's going on with Randy Cross. Hopefully we'll track him down, get the opportunity to talk some Navy football with him. In the meantime, let's play Would You Rather Wednesday. We've been needing to do that. Somebody's getting a $30 gift card to Glory Days Grill just by participating in Would You Rather Wednesday. The first one has been everybody's gotten in on one. The answer far fewer for numbers 2 and 3. To be fair, you only have to respond to one of them, and you'll be registered to win the $30 gift card to Glory Days Grill. Sure. All right, number 1, would you rather? I haven't given you the question yet. I need to give you the setup. You might know it from having looked at it, but for the sake of the radio, we are supposed to read the question. The Ravens make one trade at the deadline, shipping their first-round picks this year and next year and this year's third to the Las Vegas Raiders in exchange for Max Crosby.
Jeez.
Or they make one trade, sending a 5th-round pick to the Titans for DeAndre Hopkins. Please.
All right, so first.
Stop. If you say anything about salary cap, I'm going to jump across the table. I'm going to. This will be the final episode of Glenn Clark Radio.
Okay.
People will have been able to say they turned it. They might as well be a fire at that point.
Then, I mean, it's tough to consider with the.
Shut the entire F up. Yes, assume that the salary cap is real, and you do have to factor it somehow into the equation of what, but they'll make it work. God damn it.
So 2 firsts.
2 firsts and a 3rd for Max Crosby, or a 5th for DeAndre Hopkins.
Max Crosby's pretty good.
He is very good. That's what I've heard about Max Crosby. He's good at the football.
Be good not to have to play him either. Play against him. I mean, obviously,
but you don't have to play him frequently or anything like that.
No,
although, yes,
but it does seem like every time
he is a problem. Yep.
I don't think you can give up 2 first-round picks.
Okay.
Right now.
By the way, the people that are loudest about, like, dude, is this even a question, are on the Crosby side of things, and then I'm like, yeah, check the responses. It's very 50-50.
Yeah, I mean, if you just say, would you rather have DeAndre Hopkins
obviously,
or Max Crosby,
yes,
then
but
it's
like,
no question.
It's
but
a significant.
That's a pretty. That's almost nothing. I feel like. For
so
DeAndre
I feel
Hopkins.
that's about right for DeAndre Hopkins at this point. Like,
yeah.
Dude,
well, I mean,
it's about right. You're not getting DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
You're getting a gentleman named DeAndre Hopkins. Who used to be DeAndre Hopkins.
12th guy on this offense, though, so that's...
Not the 12th, but yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Like, I understand what you're saying. So this one to me is complicated because if there ever was a scenario by which it's worthy of taking a big swing, I keep talking about the significance of this year, how they've still yet to identify an edge rusher for years to come. Like, it still feels very much like your edge rush department will continue to be patchwork for the next few seasons. It addresses a significant problem for now and a problem for years to come. So, like, the bit where, hey, you don't ever want to, make one year seem more important than others. Well, for the next 2 years, Max Crosby now addresses your edge rush. And he's 27 years old. Like, there's no reason to think that he's falling off the cliff this year. Now, can you count on him for 5 years? I don't know. But there's no reason to think that this is the end for Max Crosby. Like, I think that you would feel confident that, 3 more years. Now, once upon a time, the Bears paid, 2 first-round picks for Khalil Mack? And that one did not work out so well for them. That's the danger of trading that much.
I mean, as nice as it would be to have, a cornerstone on the defensive front in your pass rush, I mean, it has worked. The Ravens find a way to, whether it's going to be a 32-year-old Kyle Van Noy or it's going to be, they finally do hit on a guy like they did on Matthew Judon for a few years. And then they're, just going to be content with letting that guy go, like letting him walk and replace it however they do, like scheming up pass rush. Like I think, it's just that's the when you talk about the Ravens, that's the Ravens way.
Yeah, I don't know that that's a Super Bowl way.
Yeah,
like I don't know. Like I think that, and now some of these teams, maybe the answer is Nnamdi Madubuike continues to
be pass rush.
Yeah, but because you could say, hey, some of these more recent teams that have won, it's Chris Jones, it's Aaron Donald, it's not necessarily edge rushers. It's they've generated it from the interior, but these teams that have won Super Bowls tend to have.
Yeah, you got to have a guy that makes a play.
Yeah, the guy that can win you a game at the end. They tend to have that guy on the field. And maybe that's Nnamdi Madubuike. Maybe, right? Like, I like Nnamdi Madubuike. Maybe that's him. But has he proven to be that guy versus being a good football player to this point? I think he's proven to be a good football player.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess, and that's just the way that the Ravens look at it. Is like maybe not just Nnamdi Madubuike, but Nnamdi Madubuike and Travis Jones and Kyle Van Noy. Yeah. Like that's your playmaker right there. Those three guys all working together, every single down. What's I don't know what the price what the market looks like for Hassan Reddick. So what if it was?
This is you're trying to do. This is not. We asked a Would You Rather Wednesday question.
Well,
you don't get to put your own.
Am I allowed to ask you a question?
For God's sakes, go ahead.
If it was a fifth for DeAndre Hopkins or Hassan Reddick?
A fifth for Hassan Reddick?
Yeah.
You would do that tomorrow. What are you talking about? It can't be a fifth for Hassan Reddick. Like I
know the Jets are.
The Jets traded a third, right?
Yeah, but I think I don't know.
What you're saying, I understand what you're saying, but there would be more teams that would be interested in Hassan Reddick that would drive that price up.
All right, so a third for Reddick or a fifth for DeAndre Hopkins.
Reddick. I like Hopkins. I guess that would be the spot where I would come back to why not both? That would be sort of the feeling. If those are the prices,
would you rather?
I know. In the would you rather scenario, it's Reddick. In the real world scenario, if those are the prices, that would be my go be aggressive, right? Like if it costs you 2 picks this year, but you still have your first and your second, you're trading a third and a fifth to address 2 needs. I'll do that, and I'd have to think about. I haven't even bothered with compensatory. Who all did you lose from last year? Oh God,
Clowney.
My brain. Yeah, Clowney. Yeah, Clowney would count. Jesus, dude.
Who else? Does Dobbins count? I guess no, right? Or because you added.
I don't know where he would.
I don't know how the equation works.
Well, Gus Edwards would be in that formula too, because I think he got more money. Which of them got more money? Ravens comp picks 2025. Ravens comp picks.
Dobbins was almost 1.16.
Yeah.
For Dobbins. So yeah, I guess.
All right. Oh, Patrick Queen. Yeah. Jesus.
Oh, yeah, okay,
So yeah, the expectation would be that they could get as many as 4 comp picks next year.
Didn't necessarily feel like a loss of Patrick Queen, but.
Patrick Queen, Jadeveon Clowney, Geno Stone, John Simpson, Kevin Zeitler, Devin Duvernay, Gus Edwards.
Did they lose anyone?
Yeah. Brain. Hello, Brain. And then the only real free agent addition is
Derrick Henry, Eddie Jackson.
Yeah. I think Eddie Jackson was after the.
Oh, he was
after the date where the formula is no longer. Yeah, Eddie Jackson wouldn't be factored in. So yeah, they would be in line to get a number of. Yeah, I would 1,000% say go ahead and trade.
All right, so
both of them.
then what if it's can we cheapen the Max Crosby cost and then say DeAndre Hopkins and Hassan Reddick or Max Crosby?
And make that a singular Would You Rather Wednesday?
Yeah.
I would still, yes. Yes. At that point, if you were even thinking about the answer being DeAndre Hopkins, you would obviously make that your answer at that point. Because the reason that you're not saying Max Crosby is because of the price of Max Crosby. So this would make it no different. You would 100% say that. And so I think it ends up shifting the balance over. It's been very 50-50.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good question. I'm just trying to figure out.
The responses have been very 50-50. If we made it yours, it would be way too much. It would be way too easy for people to be like, "Oh, that's a much better price to pay for." And if you could sign Hassan Reddick, then you would absolutely do it. But we've kept it 50-50 by making it Max Crosby versus DeAndre Hopkins. But it's in a vacuum. Your question, I'm not telling you. The way that I would feel about it is when we were talking about Tarek Skubal. when we were having the Derik Skubal conversation, hilariously thinking that pitching was the problem. When we were having the Derik Skubal conversation,
well, I mean, they did have to get Zach Eflin.
They did, and it worked. They had a bigger problem. When we were having that, people would say, "Hey, you really giving up Jackson Holliday for Derik Skubal?" And it was easy to say, "No, you would never do that." And I remember my response being, "Look, if Mike Elias, I don't think I want to do that, but if Mike Elias does, I'm going to say giddy up." That's going to be my response. My response is going to be, okay, go be aggressive. Go get your guy. And that would be my thought about the Max Crosby thing. I'm not sure that I want to pay that price for anybody. But if the Ravens did, my response wouldn't be, what a disaster. My response would be, all right, giddy up. I think my answer of the two is no, you can't pay that price. But I'm not even sure that's my answer, because there's a part of me that does say, like, this year, like, this is a big moment for this franchise. They've got to wipe out the reality of being the team that falters in the playoffs. And boy, do I like that chance a lot better with Max Crosby on the field. And I get that the argument back could be, well, what if you lose one of those tight ends, lose Zay Flowers. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins can't replace Zay Flowers, so that's not a good. You lose Zay Flowers, there is no. I don't know who would even be out there that would be a Zay Flowers equivalent, or even a poor man's Zay Flowers. Yeah. He's such a unique skill set guy. I don't know. I'm not opposed to DeAndre Hopkins. I like the idea of DeAndre Hopkins. There's a part of me that says, with all those compensatory picks, even if you made the big swing for Max Crosby, why not trade a 5th rounder for DeAndre Hopkins? You got an extra coming in. I am feeling more aggressive than I would. I might talk myself into thinking that the answer is go ahead and make the big swing, man. Like, go for it. Go, do it.
Yeah.
I just feels like this is a big year for the Baltimore Ravens.
To your point, if Harbaugh is only going to be here for another 2 years, then
or if you still have to make a decision about John Harbaugh, like if at the end of the year you got to give John Harbaugh a contract extension, like let me get the best possible answer that I can. I don't know. I really think I might be talking myself into Max Crosby. All right, number 2. Would you rather? I think a lot of people saw all of the fun fallout from Jerry Jones going on the radio in Dallas yesterday, threatening to fire the guys that don't work for him. That, by the way, the damn Jerry Jones did another interview yesterday.
Was he trying to fire the radio guys?
Yeah, the radio host. During the interview, he threatened to fire the radio host.
He just thinks he owns everyone at this point.
Well, they're the Cowboys broadcast station.
Okay.
But they're not owned by the Dallas Cowboys.
So it's
this isn't like Masson, where they try to pretend like you don't work for the Orioles. Like I don't work for the Rockabag. Be like, I don't work for the Orioles. I work for Masson, right? But who owns Masson? The Cowboys don't. This is an Odyssey radio station in Dallas. Now, they are the broadcast home of the Cowboys, which is why Jerry Jones goes on with them every week. But he's like, I'll get other guys. I'll the people that I'm paying. Like, what the F are you talking about, guy?
You want to go do radio in Dallas?
No. Although I believe, no, I think he's a Commanders fan. One of the hosts is a guy that used to be on the air in Ocean City. One of the hosts is a guy named Sean Sheriff, who, maybe I'm mispronouncing his name, but I remember I used to have Sean on sometimes, great guy, and I think might have even participated in one of our contests at the old radio station and now he's a morning show host in Dallas on a big station. Happy for him.
Talk Jerry Jones every week.
Yeah, right. Good for him. Well, maybe not anymore. Anyway, number 2. Speaking of trades, there's going to be a franchise trade.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Scenario 1, you keep the Ravens roster, but Jerry Jones is now the owner and GM, and Mike McCarthy's the coach. Scenario 2, Bisciotti, DeCosta, and Harbaugh with the Cowboys roster.
I mean, can't we just keep what we got?
No.
Why?
God, it's Jesus. I'm going to report you to Ryan Frazier.
Well, I'm curious what everybody else wants. So I feel like for those mouth breathing Ravens fans that you that you are.
I am. That's what you
are probably very happy to get Mike McCarthy, I guess, right?
Yeah.
everybody
I don't
would be
think
jumping,
that any.
jumping
That's what
for
I
Mike
always say.
McCarthy.
Like, we always convince ourselves that, like, look, man, Mike McDonald might prove to be a really good head coach. I don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you just fall in love with this notion that this is the guy, right? Like, this is. Let me make something abundantly clear. If Mike McDonald was the coach in Baltimore, you would hate Mike McDonald. There is one city right now in the NFL where they don't question the head coach. One.
The Jets.
Yes, obviously. He's 1-0. Perfect record.
Oh, no, he's
No, he's 0-1.
Yeah,
Crap. He's not even 1-0. He's 0-0.
Yeah, but he just traded for Devontae Adams.
That's true. Well, I don't know how involved he
no
was.
wrong.
Yeah, they love their head coach, Aaron Rodgers, in New York.
Yeah.
They love. That's the one city in the country where they're enamored with their head coach. Maybe the 6 people in L.A. that are fans of the Chargers are enamored with Jim Harbaugh right now because he's done a fairly good job, and
you can't hate him right now either.
He's a jovial, right? Because he just had a health issue, 100%. Like it's the thing I do all the time. You tell me.
So Minnesota.
In Minnesota, they probably like their head coach right now, but I don't know going into the season that they felt that way. I think it's very unique to their record at the moment.
Yeah.
Yep, I think that's the only reason why they love their head coach. Kansas City, obviously, is the answer that I was.
I'm trying to think of somewhere else they might love their head coach.
Maybe Houston, maybe.
Yeah.
Detroit. Detroit only because Dan Campbell's so likable, right? Like, he's so damn likable that, like, they probably love Dan Campbell in Detroit.
Like 5 or 6.
But we're squinting in some of the. There's one really.
Pittsburgh.
No, not even a little bit. And I think he's a hell of a coach.
Yeah.
But not even a little bit. It's the same thing. There's a significant parallel between Baltimore and Pittsburgh.
Cleveland, they might like their head coach.
Yeah, you think?
Well, just because everyone knows who the common enemy is.
Right. Yeah, but he keeps playing him.
Yeah, well, I don't think he keeps
I'm
playing
not
him.
sure it is his choice. You're right. But unfortunately, he's the one that's got to go to the podium and say it every week. And so they don't like him in Cleveland.
I mean,
by the way, remember how much everybody
everybody
loved Mike McDaniel in Miami? Remember what a boy genius he was, Wunderkind. Everybody loved that guy. Let's check in today. How they feeling about Mike McDaniel in Miami? This is the bit, man. Everybody just wants to fire the coach. You want Mike McCarthy? You think that's the answer? Here's your chance.
I mean, you say I have to keep Lamar Jackson, so I think I have to go with
that. So that's been the default. The default answer has been, in one scenario, keep Lamar Jackson. I'm just keeping Lamar Jackson. I understand that being the answer, that it defaults to that. I do think, however, Jerry Jones is extraordinarily capable of screwing that up. Like, we're at the point with Jerry Jones where this is the thing that everybody said was going on with Joe Biden. Like, and yet nobody's talking about it with Jerry. It's hilarious how we do this. Everybody talked about it with Joe Biden. Nobody wants to talk about the fact that we keep putting Jerry Jones out there to do interviews and a job that he's clearly not capable of doing anymore. He is not cognitively performing at a level that shows any capability to still do this job. But he owns the team, so there's nobody that can step. This is the Mickey Mouse way that operations exist. Vince McMahon was clearly a shit person that needed to be out of control in WWE, and for a moment they got him out. And then he woke up one day and said, I just realized I have all of the power. I have controlling interest. So I'm going to fire all of you who wanted me out, and I'm going to reinstall myself as the guy in charge, because these institutions that should be above the capitulations of one human are not. They're not set up with a structure that prevents it. So if you're the Dallas Cowboys, any of the leaders of the Dallas Cowboys, there's nothing you can do. You're watching someone go senile in front of you, and they're still the one making all of the decisions and all of the choices and representing your organization and embarrassing you publicly every day. That would be the concern that I would have in this trade. That, like, I know why we're defaulting to give me the scenario where I just keep Lamar Jackson.
But are you going to alienate all?
But this is bad, dude. Like, it's bad. I don't know that he can function anymore in the job. Like, we all know people in their 80s that are fine. Johnny Holiday is well into his 80s and can do his job just fine.
So if we did this trade, how much better do you think how better off the Cowboys would be if Bisciotti and DaCosta and
with that roster and competent leaders?
Yeah.
I mean, this week I don't know because they still don't have a running game, and like there are still problems with the Dallas Cowboys. But overall,
Do we keep Todd Monken and Zach Orr, or is it like just the over?
Just the overall leaders go. So yes, it would be.
I think that makes me feel a little better about it. Even though Jerry's got to come into town. Do we become America's team too? Do we have to play at 4:00 every day?
Every week,
yeah.
every week with Tom Brady doing every game.
Yeah.
Tom Brady or Tony Romo calling every game at 4:25. But Tom Brady not being allowed in the building. Such a weird bit. What a weird bit that is. You're going to do the games, but you're not allowed to participate in any prep for the game. Very weird bit. Like, it does feel like maybe we should be able to say, hey, it might be a conflict of interest for someone to be a broadcaster and own a football team. Like, maybe we should be capable of saying that. Like, you're going to have to pick one or the other. There's lots of things you can do.
But he's Tom Brady. And they already gave him, $400 million?
It goes back to, like, the Mickey Mouse nature of the way that we do things. Like, anybody with a brain would say, you're an owner of one of the football teams. Yeah, you can't just also go out and talk about the other. Like, what are we missing here?
I mean,
if he wants to call Raiders games, call Raiders games. You can do that. Like, go be the radio color analyst for the Raiders. But, like, I feel at some point, like, we should be able to step in and say, this is theater of the absurd. Like, this is not the way that we should. If you're not allowed to go into the building of the team that you're broadcasting, you probably shouldn't be broadcasting. Probably.
Okay.
Like,
well, but practice field outside? Like,
no, not allowed to be there.
Okay.
Not allowed to do any of it. Not allowed to talk to the players. I guess he can still do the post-game interview. I didn't see that on the list that he's been doing where he's, here's Tom Brady's fella of the game or whatever the hell they're calling it. I don't know what they do. I have no idea what they do. But they do a bit where, like, somebody gets interviewed after the game. I think he's still allowed to do that. I don't know. It's weird rules, man. All right, and number 3, would you rather? Are you familiar with Terrifier?
So you're keeping Lamar as well.
Yeah, I think, again, I ask these questions when I struggle with. If they were easy for me, I wouldn't give them as questions. I do struggle with these. That's the reason why I think they're good questions. I think I'm defaulting to Lamar because I just don't think my heart can take it, but I really am terrified of.
And you're confident. I mean, and we are confident that,
like,
so we'd have
like in a perfect
Harbaugh
world,
with Dak Prescott in Baltimore.
Yes, it'd be Harbaugh and Dak in Baltimore. In a perfect world, you'd say
they'd be a good team.
Oh, by the way, you'd also get Micah Parsons and you'd also get CeeDee Lamb. I know Micah Parsons is hurt, but I don't. Again, maybe in this trade, all of a sudden he's Devontae Adams and he's not hurt anymore. I don't know. Like, it's not like you're getting nothing. Remember, we thought the Cowboys would be good coming into the season. We did think that.
We know they can rout the Browns and beat the Steelers. So.
That's true. It's true, and that's important. The Ravens haven't done a lot of that in recent years. Keep that in mind. They're very good against the AFC North, other than the Ravens, and we wouldn't have to worry about playing the Ravens in this scenario. So, don't know. I think I lean back to the one scenario. Man, I really don't know. And you do try to talk yourself into, well, maybe Jerry Jones will realize in 3 years that he can't do this anymore. But, like, how much damage could he do in 3 years as a senile old man who can't compose himself? Like,
do you think...
Like, you're hoping that you win the Super Bowl.
Do you think Jerry Jones would have re-signed Lamar Jackson a year ago?
Well, he didn't seem interested in... Well, they did ultimately get it done with Dak Prescott. Like, but it was...
It would have been... It was right
painful.
Before, yeah. Like, CD wasn't there for any of camp.
I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. God damn it. I might end up going the other way and just saying I can't have Jerry Jones on my football team. I get why we think the one that wins out over everything is Lamar, but the answer that might be winning out for me is it can't be Jerry Jones. I'm not sure. All right, and then number 3, would you rather? You're a single. Are you single?
Yeah,
I never know with
sure,
you. I never know. He's a very mysterious fellow, this Griffin. He could walk in tomorrow and be like, I've been married for 5 years.
I'm not
be like,
that.
I'm actually in a committed throuple. Like, I'd be like, all right, good, good for you. I don't know. Whatever you're doing. Very mysterious fella. So for everybody else, assume you're a single person. There's someone you've had your eye on. Your Dixie chick. That's
sure, okay.
That's the
Dixie
one.
Chick.
What Dixie D'Amelio? Is that
D'Amelio?
Yeah. Sorry, it's not my world. Is
not
that
really mine
is she
for that
still your
matter.
1 seed, or do you have others that are higher on the list?
I don't know if she's my 1 seed.
Who's your 1 seed?
I don't know.
Everybody has a 1 seed.
Yeah, I mean,
everybody has like a celebrity that they were most. For me, it was Topanga. I mean, I was a Topanga man, like my granddaddy before me. Like we're Topanga men in our family. That's what we are.
For the sake of the question, you need one?
But yeah, just in general, who's your 1 seed?
I don't know.
Come on, man. This is not that difficult of a question.
Let's go with Dua Lipa.
Dua Lipa is your 1
sure.
seed. Really? No, you're just saying a name. Who's really your 1 seed?
Dua Lipa. What's wrong with
Is Dua Lipa really your 1 seed? The way that you answered that question made it sound like you just wanted to name a person to move on with the conversation.
And
I want you to take.
I guess we can go back.
I want you to take it. I just want to know. Everybody's got one. You're lying.
Dua Lipa
is Dua Lipa really your 1 seed? Over like Sydney Sweeney?
Oh, okay. I mean, I guess. I mean, there's a lot of 1A, 1Bs, 1Cs.
Well, I feel like Sydney Sweeney's a popular 1 seed these days.
I mean, she might be the 2 seed.
Wow, behind Dua, you're a Dua Lipa man. Wow, she's your Topanga. How about that? My Topanga's better than your Topanga.
Well,
let's be honest about this. So, someone that you're enamored with, someone that maybe looks like Dua Lipa, that you've had your.
Be Dua Lipa. Well, hold on.
Maybe if you know Dua Lipa, it might be Dua Lipa. I don't know if she's single. I don't know what her situation is. I don't follow it every day.
Well, it doesn't necessarily matter.
If it's you, it's a good point. You've maybe put it out there a little bit, and she's been a little reluctant. She's been like, I don't know, I'll think about it. But she comes to you one day and she says, you know what? I'm giving you a chance.
Yes.
We're going out on Friday night.
All right, I'm in.
All right.
Whatever that option is.
Well, hold up. She says, if on our date,
probably,
here's what we do.
Okay. I'm still in.
Part 1, we go see Terrifier 3.
Gotcha. Okay. I mean, I can close my eyes for 3 hours. How long the movie is.
I don't know how long Terrifier 3 is. If you're not familiar with Terrifier 3, just Google it.
Well,
you'll get just Google the concept, and I think you'll get an explanation.
3, no pictures.
Yeah, here's a headline. Terrifier 3 not clowning around, how the uber gruesome pick upended the movie rating system. So part 1, you go to Terrifier 3. Part 2, you go to an American performance of the German opera Sancta. So it's a 2-part date. First part, Terrifier 3. Second part, Sancta. Now, you might not know about Sancta, so I'll tell you a little bit about it. Sancta. This story comes to us from, I believe, the Daily Mail. 18 theater goers at Stuttgart State Opera required medical treatment for severe nausea over the weekend after watching a performance that included live piercing, unsimulated sexual intercourse, and copious amounts of fake and real blood.
What is...
Quote, on Saturday, we had 8, and on Sunday, we had 10 people who had to be looked after by our visitor service, unquote, said the opera's spokesperson, Sebastian Ebling, about the 2 performances of Sancta, a work by the Austrian choreographer Florentina Holzinger. A doctor had been called in for treatment in 3 instances, he added. Holzinger, 38, is known for freewheeling performances that blur the line between dance theater and vaudeville. Her all-female cast typically performs partially or fully naked, and previous shows have included live sword swallowing, tattooing, masturbation, and action paintings with blood and fresh excrement. So you get that date, but that date is to Terrifier 3 and Sancta. And this performance of Sancta, you're guaranteed to get everything.
So
all of it.
So Dua Lipa's flying me out to Germany?
No, I said it's an American
It's
performance
American.
of Sancta.
Okay.
Yeah, happening here in America.
Well, I feel like the American version might be a little
down.
No,
you're getting all of it. All of it, as I stated in the scenario.
And you're telling me Sydney Sweeney doesn't want to do this?
No, this is only a Dua Lipa situation. Sydney Sweeney, she's busy with the Oregon Duck, you might have heard.
She's busy with the Oregon Duck?
You don't know that?
I didn't.
You said you watched Game Day.
I did. What did
The Oregon Duck during picks held up a sign that said, Sydney Sweeney, call me back. And then she went on Instagram or said something like, sorry, I changed my number or something like that. So I think there might be a thing going on between Sydney Sweeney
well,
and
it sounds
the
like she's
Oregon
not really caring, but she doesn't really care about the Duck then.
Would you answer the damn... She's been like married since she's 19 or something like that.
Oh yeah, that is true. Well,
it's a weird.
Again, who cares?
Yeah, right. It's you that we're talking about. If she knew you were available.
So I mean, yeah, Terrifier 3 doesn't even sound that bad.
Well, in comparison, right? Like Terrifier.
It's all
Terrifier 3. You're like, why don't we invite our moms?
And she's like totally into all this.
She said, "This is. I'm giving you a chance. You can come with me on this date."
I mean, okay, so how big are these crowds for Sancta?
I don't know.
So
I haven't been.
Only 8 people are, needing medical attention out of what? Like
well,
100-person theater?
Yeah,
maybe?
I'm going to guess it's not thousands.
Yeah. I'm probably not the 8%
Oh,
or
you
whatever.
think that you're going to somehow avoid
yeah, I
being
mean, like,
in the...
you got
a strong,
come on, medical
you got a
attention
strong
for,
stomach, right? Like,
I mean, I think I do.
Well, yeah, but I saw you around the haggis. I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know how strong your stomach is.
I mean, it's not like I'm gonna need to go to the hospital.
Say that.
I mean, I don't
say that.
I mean, sure, just
okay, but understand
several hours of very unpleasantness.
This is the first date. This is just date number one.
Then we get to go. Whatever I want the next time.
Yeah, or she's set the standard now, and she's
then
always
but then she's gonna realize how much fun just mini golf is.
Right. Like, hey, Sancta's cool, but what if we just played some putt-putt? Maybe went to friendlies afterwards.
Right.
How does that sound?
Right.
The standard 16-year-old Glenn Clark first date that worked really well right up until he dated a girl with lactose intolerance. Ordered all this friendlies, and she was like, yeah, I don't eat those things. Oh, so you don't want the mozzarella stick.
Well,
more for me.
Exactly. It wasn't that bad.
Everybody famously knows the Friendly's mozzarella sticks are bee's knees, baby. So you're
I mean, yeah, I think I'll do it.
You're doing it.
Yeah.
You're doing it.
Yeah.
I think I might.
I
want to believe.
I think
there's a part of me.
I think it wouldn't be. I don't think it.
There is a part of me that says like.
And I get to tell everyone I went to see Sancta one time.
There's a part. Yeah. There's a part of me that feels that way. Like, yo, this would be crazy. And like, I remember. There was one particular girl that I dated that was very different than all of the other girls that I had dated.
Very real possibility Terrifier 3 is worse
than Sancta.
Sancta.
It's gonna be more. You're never gonna make it to Sancta. She's like, sorry, we're not. This date can't continue. Griffin's hurling in the movie theater. She's like, it's just the preview.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna be the other horror movies that are coming out soon.
Yeah, but Wicked looks terrible. I can't do this. What is going on with Ariana Grande's skin? Are we talking about it as a society or not? What is happening there? What is the deal?
Are you actually worried about her?
Yes, I'm genuinely worried. She looks jaundiced. Like, we got to talk about it. I know part of it was she got accused of, what's that called, blackfishing a few years ago when she was...
Oh.
So, like, Ariana Grande...
I like how the first thing that comes up is she's got a Fortnite skin, actually.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, you can buy a skin for Fortnite. Yeah. That's an Ariana Grande thing.
She got like a character.
Yeah, there's a whole thing going on. She looks jaundiced. It looks like she corrected because of the look, man. Whatever she wants to look like, that is her journey. I want to make this abundantly clear. I'm not shaming. I'm not doing any of those things. I'm concerned. Just want to make sure she's okay.
I don't think everyone's as concerned as you are.
Maybe not, but they should be. There is something. I'm telling you. Look up Ariana Grande blackfishing. It was a huge thing a few years back because she was so tan that it seemed like they were trying to pull off like the we want you to believe that she's black when she's Italian.
I mean, so I'm assuming you were thinking this as seeing her on Saturday Night Live.
On Saturday Night Live and in the previews for Wicked. Because in the previews for Wicked, you're like, that's just the makeup she's wearing for the movie. You're like, there's no real problem here. She just looks different for the movie. But then you see her on Saturday Night Live and you're like, she looks different. Like, different. And it seems like an overcorrection to me. It seems like they've decided to go, well, there's no way they can continue to accuse us of blackfishing now because...
Oh, she looks too pale?
Yeah. Like, it looks...
I didn't notice. I didn't think anything was amiss when
very, very
seeing her
different.
on Saturday Night Live.
Not really sure how that came up. How did Ariana Grande come up?
Wicked.
Wicked.
Yeah.
You're watching the trailer.
I don't want to...
Watching the trailer for
No,
Wicked.
thank you.
My kids are, like, really interested in Wicked. I guess because they're familiar with The Wizard of Oz, and they're like, so is it different? I'm like, yeah, it's not for you. Like, I don't know how to say that to my children. Like, I don't know how to say, dude, this one's just, well, it's just not for you. Like, we'll pass. We'll pass on going to see Wicked.
I mean,
I believe
guess
it comes
now
out
you
the same
say
day
something, she looked a little pale. I
yeah,
guess.
does she? She looks really pale. I believe Wicked comes out on the same day as Gladiator 2, so I think I'll probably choose Gladiator 2
strong,
myself.
it's a good day, strong day.
Probably gonna pick that one. I have a friend who does movie events. My buddy Kevin Hawk from Transcendent Events, like hosts like themed premieres and stuff like that. And we were talking to him about it last night. And he was like, he was thinking about doing a Barbenheimer thing, like try to watch both and clever creative costumes. He was thinking about doing that. All right, get your responses in at Glenn Clark Radio. I'm good, by the way. There are other fish in the sea. I think
like your wife.
at first I would. No, I'm trying to think of Glenn Clark, the single man. And I do remember, like, there were being one particular girl who was really into, like, avant-garde, like, crazy stuff. I dated a girl who had tattoos covering the majority of her body. And when I say the majority, I mean the majority. And everybody's like, wow, she was very bohemian and very different than, like, other girls that I had dated. And everybody was like, what? And in fairness, we were never in a relationship. But, like, she hung around a lot. Like, she showed up a lot. People were like, this is very different for you. And I was like, I don't know, she's cool, man. Like, I feel like this is the type of thing that, like, maybe because it's a first date, I'd be like, oh, hell yeah, I'm doing this. But at 41 years old, nope. I'm good. I don't need these things. There's somebody else. Now, if she looked like Topanga, or if it was Topanga,
yeah,
I got to think about it a little bit more. I do have to think about it more than. Give me your responses at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. Somebody is winning a $30 gift card.
Do you think you would have to be medically evacuated from this theater when
excrement?
I mean, yeah, it's
maybe.
Just bring your own bucket, right?
Maybe, dude. Maybe. I remember being at a I don't think I want to tell this story.
I guess we should move on.
We definitely should move on from Sancta.
How tight are these? Like is it?
I don't know.
Is it like a?
Yeah, I think
like
I don't.
20, 30
I don't think they're playing Sancta in front of the Lyric Opera House, dog. I don't think they're bringing that one to the Hippodrome. I think that's a much smaller room. I don't think it's playing to the big crowds. I think that's the case. Get me your responses. Somebody's winning a $30 gift card to Glory Days Grill. What do I need to remind everybody about? I need to remind everybody about the Stan the Fan Variety Hour. Every Monday, Stan, Ross, and Luke talking baseball. Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. If you miss it live, YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video. How about we get ourselves a tidbit? Oh, good. Good. Griffin was so enamored with the Sancta conversation. And then I
wanted to keep it going.
Derrick Henry named AFC Offensive Player of the Week. He wasn't even on my Pats on the Ass list. AFC Offensive Player of the Week. That feels like we just gave it to Lamar last week. We don't want to give it to Lamar again this week. I, with all due respect, there is no world in which Derrick Henry. I don't actually care because it's AFC Offensive Player of the Week. Yeah, but there's no world where Derrick Henry should have won that over Lamar last week. Love him. God bless the fact that Derrick Henry is on. Did he maybe not get it the week that he should have gotten it? The Buffalo week?
Wait, who'd they play before? Buffalo was no.
Yeah.
No.
Buffalo was
so
2
Lamar
weeks
got
ago.
it. So Lamar got it against Cincy. No,
yes.
Yeah, he got it because the tweet I saw was Hensley said it the second time in 3 weeks.
Yeah,
so yeah,
well,
he had to have gotten it.
Then there's no argument. The only argument I can make is, well, we screwed up and didn't give it to him the week we should have, so we got to give it to him this week. No world in which Derrick Henry should have been AFC offense. No offense. Like, God bless him. I'm glad he's on my team, but it should have been Lamar.
I guess because Lamar only had one touchdown. Is that why?
Okay. Can we hit the thing that you're supposed to hit?
We can.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
All right, what you got?
There wasn't. I couldn't really find anything that was worth coming up from the baseball game yesterday. But I do have one that from over the weekend from Cespedes Family Barbecue, who found on StatHead that this Cleveland Guardians team is the first team in MLB history with 4 relievers to have a sub-2 ERA and have 60 innings pitched each. 4 relievers with a sub-2 ERA and 60 innings pitched. Do you want to try to name the 4? No, I don't think you'll be able to
I
get
don't
it.
think there's any chance in hell that I could do that.
Get the 4. I don't think you'll be able to get the 4th. But anyway, only 33
Rivera
for the Guardians.
Oh, specifically for the Guardians.
Yes.
Sorry, I thought you meant like. Okay, I get it now. This year, they've had 4 pitchers.
Sub-2. 60 innings pitched.
Clase.
Clase is one of them.
Gaddis. Smith.
Cade Smith.
I don't know who the 4th is.
Tim Herron.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Okay. Yes. First team ever though with 4 relievers in a sub-2 ERA, 60 innings pitched. Only 33 other teams have ever had just 2 such relievers in the same season, and only 4 have had 3 such relievers. So I'm just trying to figure out the best way to go about this. And then I saw that the Orioles have done this 5 times. Have had 2 relievers.
Well, how about that?
With a sub-2 ERA, 60 innings pitched. Can you name the 5 Orioles teams? And who the relievers are?
Really?
Yeah.
No. 14.
Yes, 14.
Because it was obviously Britain.
Britain was one of them.
O'Day.
Yes, and Darren O'Day.
Yeah.
And you would knock out two of the 5 with that because they also did it in 2015 as well.
Makes sense.
Zach Britton and Darren O'Day again.
I'll try 23.
Not 23. No.
Okay. 96.
Not 96.
97.
Not 97.
95. Anything in the 90s?
No, not in the 90s. So they did it twice before you were born.
Twice before I was born.
I guess it'll be tough. Those ones will be tough. All right, they did it once. They did it in the early 2000s.
Okay. 2000. These are all terrible teams. There's no way for me to know this. 2004.
No.
2001. 2002.
2002.
Sure.
2 relievers with a sub-2.
Was one of them named Mike?
No.
There were a lot of Mikes in the Dijon. There was so many Mikes around in the bullpen in those days. 2002. 2002. Who was still around from the? God, Benitez was gone by then.
Not Benitez.
Who was around in 2002? Jorge Julio.
Jorge Julio.
Really?
Is one of them.
No chance. No chance. I'm trying to think if there was like a starter who was pitching out of the bullpen then. I got nothing. Who would the other? Jose Mercedes.
Not a Jose. It was
Willis Roberts.
It was a no. It was a Buddy.
Oh, Buddy Groom was still on the 2002 Orioles?
Yeah, Buddy Groom and Jorge Julio. And then also, all right, I guess I'll just give it to you. So the 73 Orioles.
Oh, okay.
Any idea?
Nope.
Grant Jackson and Bob Reynolds.
Ah, sure.
And the 69 Orioles as well. Dick Hall and Eddie Watt.
Oh, Eddie Watt I probably could have gotten if I tried hard.
All right, then fine. Real quick, Luke Weaver has now
Quite the
finished
ball buster.
each of the Yankees' first 6 games of a postseason. He's just the 3rd pitcher to finish the team's first 6 games of a postseason, and all 3 have happened since 2017. So,
okay,
2017 was one of them, and then also last year.
Andrew Miller?
Not Andrew Miller.
Was it a Cub in 2017?
It was not a Cub.
Was it an Indian or now
No.
a Guardian? I don't think I'm going to get it then. Who else was good in 2017? Was it? Oh, I'm doing 20. I'm doing the wrong year. My bad, everybody. I'm sorry.
Well, you're thinking 16.
Yeah,
Okay.
Astro.
Not an Astro.
That's because obviously it wasn't an Astro, because we all know that it was a Dodger.
It was a Dodger.
And that means it was
Closing
Jansen.
It was Kenley Jansen in 2017, the first pitcher to close out each of his team's first 6 games in the postseason.
And then
in 2023, it was the second time.
2023, and so it was an Astro. Well, obviously it wasn't an Astro. God, who the hell would it have been? It was a Ranger.
It was.
It was. Oh God. Leclerc.
It was Jose Leclerc. And then, so Luke Weaver becomes the third pitcher, joining that list of guys to close out the game. First 6 games.
How about that? How about that? All right, let's get Tubular, please.
Experience the thrill of the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Advisory, coming October 17th to 20th. See the world's best equestrians compete in the sport of eventing, the ultimate test of horse and rider. Enjoy a weekend festival featuring local food, shopping, and fun for all. Come for the event and stay for the experience in Cecil County, home to the Chesapeake Bay waterfront, vibrant small towns, and family entertainment. Tickets on sale now at maryland5star.us.
All right, here's what's coming up totally tubular-wise this evening. Game 3, pivotal Game 3s tonight, both in the NLCS and in the WNBA. NLCS Game 3 as the series shifts to New York. Dodgers-Mets, 8:08 on Fox Sports 1 this time. Walker Buehler, Luis Severino, the pitching matchup there. Game 3 of the WNBA Finals gets away from New York. They go to Minnesota, where the series is tied up at 1 game apiece for the Liberty and the Lynx. That's at 8 o'clock on ESPN. TNT and True TV for Sabres Penguins at 7, Bruins Avalanche at 9:30. College football tonight, ESPN2 Western Kentucky Sam Houston at 7. CBS Sports Network Florida International and UTEP at 9. Preseason hoops, Cavs Pistons at 7 on NBA TV. TBS has AEW Dynamite tonight at 8. Non-sports.
Shrinking Season 2 on Apple TV+. This is the Jason...
just did not hook me enough to keep a subscription to Apple TV+.
And Harrison Ford and Jason Segel. And then...
everybody loves it. Everybody raves about it. I watched it, and it was good, but not enough for me to continue paying for Apple TV Plus when I didn't watch anything else.
New episodes of Agatha all along on Disney Plus, Grotesquerie on FX, and then the part 2 of that Lois Reese murder thing on HBO at 9 o'clock as well. And here's a great duo on Jimmy Kimmel tonight: Mila Kunis and Nancy Pelosi.
Ooh, what are they plugging? Are they plugging Fight Night still, or
no, not Fight
Maybe
Night.
Terry. Oh God. Terrifier 3.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what they're plugging?
I think that is actually it. That's what it is.
Mila Kunis and Nancy Pelosi.
She's in that Michael Keaton movie. She plays Michael Keaton's daughter.
Right,
Goodrich. It looks pretty solid, actually.
Nancy Pelosi, that is, plays Michael Keaton's daughter.
Yes. Abbott Elementary as well. Golden Bachelorette and an episode of Survivor.
Of course, none of that matters because you all will be listening to Reed and Glenn on 105.7 The Fan this evening. 6 to 9, doing the big show tonight for some reason.
Nice.
Not sure what's going on over there, but we'll be with you from 6 to 9 tonight, talking about stuff and things and stuff.
I should tell you that Tubular is also brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, where you get $7 in free slot play every time that Baltimore or Washington scores a touchdown during their home games this season. You have to have your Live Rewards card inserted into the slot machine and be actively playing, but once that touchdown scores during said home games for Baltimore or Washington, $7 in free slot play. Adirondack Mills must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right. Thanks today to Devin McCourty, and thanks also to Brooks Dubose, and to we'll get all that into Griffin. And we'll get all that up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh my God, it's so good.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Anything tomorrow?
We'll catch up with Haywood Highsmith.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Baltimore native,
Yes.
getting ready for the
NBA
season with the
season.
Miami Heat. Stuff and things.
We'll have to do
Picks.
Yeah.
KZ.
Yeah.
All of the regulars have suddenly stopped posting as well. You promised me Drew. That didn't come through. Stands out this week. Like, even the stuff we normally do is starting to be a little dicey around here. I don't know what's going on. Maybe they know about the smell. Maybe they're like, there's not going to be a show.
They should know.
Maybe that's
well,
really Drew.
But also, it's just radio.
Do you think Drew was the one that's started the fire? Like, you think
no,
that's
because he was very adamant of where he was going to be. The Maryland
yeah,
Senior Open.
that's exactly what he'd want you to think.
Oh,
it's exactly what
he's like, what's something he won't question?
Yeah. Like we know when the Maryland Senior Open is. It could have happened in April.
It's like, oh,
how would we ever? We're like,
obviously.
yeah, that sounds right. Sure, the Maryland Senior Open. in October? Yeah, that's when they're holding the Maryland Senior Open? Maybe we should start asking some more questions. Thanks, everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including the Maryland 5-Star, Live Casino and Hotel, Cruise Maryland, Crown Trophy, Easy Pass, Royal Farms, Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, the Costas Inn, MSAA, the Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Wednesday evening. Go nobody. Yeah, we don't root against the. I would prefer the Mets to the Dodgers, but I don't like the Mets. We're not rooting for them. Duke sucks.